of all the greatest Indigenous players that have played the game and how they remember one particular passage of play that they did that they just cannot remove from their mind.
What was your suggestion?
When Michael Long stands out for me when you have a look at the highlights just in the against Carlton, was it in the granny, and then even in the prelim final against Adelaide in 93, but look, lucky enough to, we've touched on a number of the players that play for Adelaide too. I was a big fan of Sean Burgoyne and Peter Burgoyne, and even Byron Pickett. Glad I didn't run into him, like games. Just such quality play. Graham Johncock is another player for Adelaide too, who's just had some enormous talent and played for a very long time.
Well, naturally, I played with the great Nicky Winmar. And the thing about Nicky was the stereotype of the Aboriginal player growing up for me was the Cracker brothers, who were just mercurial talents in the forward line. Nicky came in, and Nicky's greatest asset, apart from the marks and the kicks, he was an outstanding tackler, one of the best tacklers that you've ever seen, a defensive player. So that, to me, really broke that stereotype.
Let's head down for the official ceremony
in Ballarat. As we prepare for today's formalities, it's my pleasure to welcome Wadawurrung woman Nikki McKenzie and Kurnai Wadjabolok man Norm Stanley on behalf of the Wadawurrung community for a welcome to country. Thank you, Nikki and Norm, for that special welcome. Dogs fans, make sure you get ready for the first bounce. It's only a few minutes away.
So the official ceremony taking place below our commentary position here at Eureka Stadium in Ballarat. And a lovely touch with the Western Bulldogs players and the Adelaide Crows side by side as that welcome to country took place. There is no late changes. Lockie McNeil is the sub for the Western Bulldogs and Sam Berry for the Adelaide Crows. Meanwhile, at Docklands, it's the Sydney Swans leading North Melbourne. They're 3-5-23 to the Kangaroos 1-2-8. And the goals coming through Franklin, Laddams and McLean for the Sydney Swans, and Jai Simpkin, the North Melbourne captain, the goal scorer for the Roos. There is an ABC Call of That Game available. It's under the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL Extra button. And in the meantime, the Western Bulldogs and the Adelaide Crows are going through their final preparations. A thought or two from Rod Jamieson and Nathan Burke as to what's to come.
Well, I think the corresponding game, Clinchy, here where Adelaide got up by 1 point. You had Taylor Walker kick 3 goals. You had Marcus Bontempelli 16 disposals. Adam Treloar was playing at that particular point. And Berkey touched on it earlier. I think Josh Dunkley had 28 disposals, who's no longer with this side. So with a number of different changes here, it's hard to get a gauge as to where things are at. The form of the Western Bulldogs, they've won their last 4. Bontempelli, Liberatore, we spoke to Matty Nix and how critical it is to shut down those two. What I liked about Adelaide Berkey last week was their ability to be able to take the contested game up to the St Kilda team around the ground. Certainly with their clearance work, Marks was incredible. It was 126-78 in favour of Adelaide, and the uncontested football 289-195. They really dominated in that area. They would like to play that style of game, but I'm sure the Western Bulldogs aren't going to allow it. And certainly reading Bailey Smith, when they come here to Ballarat, they just want to make it as difficult as they can for the opposition. So a tough day for Adelaide.
Yeah, I was so impressed by the Crows last week. Their closing speed and willingness to tackle hard and close down any space that St Kilda tried to generate and chip the ball around, it just wasn't there. They gave them absolutely nothing. So if they can bring that swarming defence today, that's going to go a long way to beating the Bulldogs, because the Bulldogs, as we know, they do like to share the ball around. They will keep using the ball by hand until they find that free player. If Crows defend like they did last year, it's going to be really difficult to find that free player. So I think the Bulldogs will be working on potentially, you know what, we might just, without a couple of key defenders in that and tall players in that Crow side, getting the ball forward just with a few more bomb kicks than what they would normally like.
The team's just coming together for the toss of the coin. So Jamara Ugle-Hagan, Liam Jones and Artie Jones joining their captain Marcus Bontempelli, and then Jordan Dawson joined by Isaac Rankin and Wayne Miller. An exchange of gifts, a ceramic boomerang gifted from the Western Bulldogs to the Adelaide Crows. Ian Cohen is downstairs. Koza, come in.
Thanks very much. You're quite right. The Bulldogs won the toss. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a sunny, which is good news, Eureka Stadium. They will kick to the Wimmera end, or the Creswick Road end. The benches as they're going to line up for the Bulldogs: Tim O'Brien, Caleb Daniel, Jack McRae, and in for his second game, James O'Donnell, son of Simon O'Donnell, with Lachlan McNeil, the sub there. And for the Crows, it is Josh Rochelle, Rory Sloane, Patrick Parnell, and Elliot Himmelberg, with Sam Berry, the sub for the Crows. Conditions are good. Blue sky above. The ground is in terrific nick. Of course, it will feature as part of the Commonwealth Games in the not too distant future.
Looking interesting how the Western Bulldogs are lining up too. Pretty much centre half forward for them to full forward, all in one line as the Adelaide defence and gone and picked them up.
So we're ready to get underway on this Sir Doug Nicholls round. It's the Western Bulldogs taking on the Adelaide Crows in Ballarat. Here's Ben Cameron.
A top 8 clash. English and O'Brien go at it. Neither decisive. Emerging with the football, a clear and kick for the Crows. Coming out of Keys. Can't gather it in game 100. Johannesson can. He snaps towards the wing. Going up, Bontempelli can't take the mark. Dawson wins it for the Crows. Floats a kick inside 50. Coming out, Fogarty. He takes the mark. 40 metres out on a 45-degree angle left of centre.
It was Liam Jones and Fogarty one-on-one inside 50. Unfortunately, Liam Jones just had the ankles clipped. Fogarty maintained his balance and took a chest mark. But great to see Bontempelli and Dawson, the two captains, going head-to-head.
A couple of goals away from 100 in the AFL. A little stutter past the arc of 50. The drop punt is pulled left. A minor score to start. So behind for the Crows, they're one minor score. The Western Bulldogs yet to score. We've played 55 seconds.
Bailey Dale brings the Dogs back into play. Quickly to Bontempelli, up towards the law, but half back. It's spoiled by Hinge of the Crows and out of play for a boundary throw-in.
Jake Saligo going with Liberatore.
Bailey Smith and Libba both coming to Jordan Dawson, letting him know that his afternoon won't be running unopposed. Ball to be tossed back into play. English sets himself up against O'Brien. They tangle. O'Brien one down the tap. Got it to Murphy. Out past to Scholes. Squeezes a kick inside 50 for the Crows. Up towards Gallant. And Darcy Fogarty. It's spilled down the way of Baker of the Bulldogs. Sends it back up the wing. Murray in from the side. Punches it down. O'Brien tries to swat it to the advantage of Dawson. He's tackled by Smith. Michael Annie for the Crows. He loses it as he tried to link up with O'Brien. Libba's kick is smothered. It ricocheted off O'Brien to Baker. He was over the boundary line as he got his kick away, and it'll be a boundary throw in just short of right half forward for the Adelaide Crows, broadcast side of Eureka Stadium.
Big job for Mitch Hens on Rory Lobb. He's giving away a good 10 centimetres there.
Just waiting for the ball to be retrieved, of course. A break in 140 years of tradition this round. Your lower printed on the ball rather than TW Sherrin for the first time in history of the VFL and the AFL. English trying to take it out of the ruck, gathers at ground level, gives it off to Bailey Dale, kicks the Dogs to half forward. Norton comes out and marks. 60 from home, he looks into the pocket. A poor kick, he turns it over. Scholes there to mark for the Crows. He goes laterally to Michael Annie, who will look to switch it. Ben Hart reincarnated. He switches it across to Murray, who will go laterally again. And the Crows with it at left half back, and Ben Keys in game 100 with an early touch. The Crows one behind, the Dogs yet to score. We've played 3 minutes.
Looks up for options around the wing through the hands of Tim English, who couldn't quite take the mark. Richards tries to squeeze a kick out, but it's Chase Jones for the Adelaide Crows. Kicks up towards Rankin at half forward. Around the boundary line, taps it to his own advantage. Little tug of the arm on DeRay. Umpire calls play on. Spills the way of Bailey Smith. Hand pass to Bontempelli. To Richards, who arches his back. Gets away from a tackler. Chips it towards English. It's over the head of he and O'Brien. O'Brien got a hand to it for the Crows. Tries to slap it the way of Dawson, but Liberatore there first. Hinge knocks it forward for Adelaide to Laird. Inside 50. Fogarty on the lead. He marks 50 out. He wants to centre it. He's got Gallant on his own in the goal square, and he takes the mark. Good game awareness to realise they had a player all on his own. And Lockie Gallant into the Adelaide lineup with a chance to kick the first goal of the match.
Taylor Walker out at the moment, but Lockie Gallant is a key forward. He works really hard. He'll get up at every contest he can and covers the ground really well. Had the option, Ben Keys, to go to. Great kick, Rory Laird, just to lower the eyes and find Darcy Fogarty, who also could have had a shot at goal.
The Victorian from St Bernard's has played round 3 and round 4 in the absence of Taylor Walker. Here's Lockie Gallant for the first goal of the match. And Adelaide are on the board in Ballarat. They're 1-1-7 to the Western Bulldogs, yet to score through 4 minutes in the opening term on ABC Sport.
I'm going to put that down to the defensive swarming of the Adelaide midfielders. A couple of times the Bulldogs have tried to come out and they've tried to hit targets through the middle of the ground, and they just haven't been able to. They've been inventing stuff, and once the ball hits the ground, it's been the Crows have got there first in numbers and driven the ball back inside 50. That was their A game last week against St Kilda. It just did not give them any time and space to get those free marks, and looks like they're on song so far at this early stage of this game as well.
First quarter blitzes have been the MO for the Adelaide Crows this year. They've won 6 of their 9 opening terms and often built a big lead. 38 points in round 5 against Carlton, 31 against St Kilda. Here go the Dogs out of the middle. Bontempelli gets it from the hands of English, gives it off to Bailey Smith, kicks into the forward pocket, and the Crows are there. Butts takes a defensive mark in the left back pocket. Right in front of the grandstand at the quarry end of the ground. He'll kick out towards the wing. Up goes Gardner. Can't take the mark. Ball comes down at ground level. Bailey Williams. Handball out to Liberatore. To Smith. Kicks the Dogs back inside 50. No mark taken. Loose footy. Going in Artie Jones. Can't quite extract it. Norton picks it up. He's gang tackled. And we'll get a ball up 35 metres out from the attacking goal for the Dogs. Adelaide 1-1-7. Dogs yet to score.
Butts has gone to Norton. Murray's gone to Ugle Hagen.
Of course, no Tom Duday for the Adelaide Crows this afternoon, as Riley O'Brien tries to take it out of the ruck. He's tackled by Cody Waitman and Tom Liberatore. The umpire to ball it up 40 metres out from the Western Bulldogs goal. They two rucks tangle. English tries to tap it down. Ugle-Hagan coming through, couldn't get a disposal away. Liberatore and Saligo both trying to scrap for the ball. Eventually it comes clear. Bontempelli with a tackle on Dawson. Squeezed to kick up towards Laird. Gives the hand pass to Jones and out wide to Gallant, who leading up the ground marks at left half back, the opening goal scorer.
Back in for the first time since round 4, played against Fremantle and kicked a couple of goals on that occasion. The opening goal here today. Gallant goes long. Rising up is Fogarty, a couple of bites at it. Doesn't quite drag it in. Now the ball at his feet. Picked up by Jones for the Dogs. Squeezes a kick forward. Miller inadvertently soccers it to the boundary line and out, a throw in on the wing. On the southern side of the ground, as Clinchy mentioned, standing room only out there. Be a good place to be. A little chilly, but good viewing. Maybe a hot chocolate out there this afternoon.
Quarter time at Dockland. Sydney Swans leading North Melbourne by 3 points from the throw in. Saligo hard against the boundary, dribbles a kick up towards half forward. Gardner's waiting for it for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Dale. Links up with DeRay across half back. Long searching kick. Can it get to Norton? It can't. Butts in from the side. Big collision. He's down as he cannon into Michael Lanny and Norton in the marking contest. It goes out in front of Wayne Miller and a boundary throw in at right half forward for the Western Bulldogs. Adelaide 1-1-7 of the Dogs yet to score. 7.5 minutes gone opening term.
Hot chocolate doesn't come in a can, Ben.
I'm more of a coffee man myself anyway. O'Brien brings it down. Straight to the front, going after it. Dawson. Bailey Smith beats him to it. Picks it up for the Bulldogs. Handball a little hot for Bailey Williams. So Bailey's not on the same page, and another throw in on that southern wing.
I remember having some hot cider in New York. Have you tried that in Canada?
Oh, yeah. Was it rice wine? Or
Yeah,
something?
some sort of warm. I'm not sure that's the go of the crowd here either.
Probably only need 3 or 4. Don't need many more.
English brings it down in front for Daniel. He gives it off to Bailey Smith. Tries it, don't argue. Squeezes a kick into the middle of the ground. English will rove at the big ruckman. Off to Liberatore. Attacking edge of the square. Eyes the goals and whacks it through. Touched on the line. Great defensive effort getting back. And a goal-saving effort by Murray on the goal line.
Back in the team today after concussion. Missed last week. Jordan Dawson coming to the bench.
And we'll take the kick-in duties, Murray, as he works it up to Michael Annie at right half back. Up towards Dawson and Sloan, O'Brien and Sloan. They almost collided, with Riley O'Brien getting the right away as the bigger marking target. He comes inboard and finds Brodie Smith. This was the highlight of Adelaide's game against the Saints last week. Their kick mark game to be able to break the lines. Smith wheels onto his right, long up towards Gallant. He and Gardner wrestle. Gardner palms it down. Rory Lobb becomes the tackler on Laird. Holding the footy, the Dogs take the advantage. Smith works it forward to Waitman. Hand pass away to Bailey Smith. Bit of a fumble, regathers. Long towards full forward. Scott brought it to ground level. Feeds the hand pass to Ugle-Hagan. Ducked the tackle from Sloan. Hand pass back to Bailey Smith around the body. It's offline and it bounces through for a minor score to the right-hand side. The Bulldogs 2 behinds to Adelaide 1-1-7. 9 minutes gone, opening term on ABC Sport.
Geez, getting it early. Bailey Smith, 8 disposals through the opening 9 minutes. He's on track for about 100 at that pace. Sure he'll slow up. Bailey Smith runs to the right back pocket, drives it long towards the wing. Duray in front. He'll get a free kick. It'll go to Gardner, in fact, so the Dogs to have it on the broadcast wing.
It's a very crowded inside 50. Oh, Cody Waitman's going to milk himself a free kick.
So it'll be downfield. Cody Waitman has been put down in the left forward pocket, and he'll be able to go back and kick for goal. The mark set 25 metres out. It's a 45-degree angle to the left-hand side.
Paddy Parnell just giving him a little bit of attention.
We're just checking whether it's 50 metres from the point where...
Yeah, it is going to go to Gardner,
Yeah.
so Waitman won't get the kick.
So the 50 metres from Gardner was about 7 or 8 metres further from where the free kick of Waitman was to be. So you get the one that's most favourable for the goal.
That's when the fourth umpire probably comes into play a bit, isn't it?
Has only kicked 2 goals in his 45-game career. Ryan Gardner comes in and drills it through the middle. Boy, he loves it as well. The Bulldogs first of the afternoon in Ballarat. They're 1-8. The Crows 1-7. Their first lead of the afternoon. 11 minutes in here on Grandstand AFL. Matt Clinch, myself, Ben Cameron, Nathan Burke, the Australian Football Hall of Famer and Crows champion, Rod Jamieson.
Well, I was watching the forward 50 for the Bulldogs, and there was a lot of players down there. It was probably about 8 on 8, and they're all jostling each other, running around trying to block, trying to get a spare space to lead and get rid of an opponent. And it was just a bit of a bump from there. Everyone was bumping each other, but somebody bumped Cody Waitman and he came flying out sideways out of the pack. Probably embellished it slightly, but that's all the umpires need to see.
Kicked 2 goals in his first 2 games, Ryan Gardner, back in 2019. Come to 2023, he's finally got his 3rd goal on the board. In the middle of the ground, English trying to fight for it for the Dogs. Hand pass to Bailey Smith, links up with McRae, feeds it to Caleb Daniel. Kicks inside 50, charging out was O'Donnell, couldn't quite take the mark. It spills the way of Brodie Smith to the Crows. Looks to send it out to the eastern side of the ground where Johannisen rises over Keys, gets a fist to it. It comes off Murphy and goes out of play. A boundary throw in on the eastern side, which is the hillside here at Eureka Stadium. I think we can go down to Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, thanks very much, Clinchy. Jordan Butts has spent a bit of time off the ground, 3 or 4 minutes being assessed by the Adelaide Crows doctor. He seems to have a knock to the back of the right of his head, the top part of his neck there from that teammate with a collision, but he's just gone back on the ground now.
Rochelle emerges from the stoppage with the footy. His kick close to the boundary line and a free kick is going to go the way of Gallant. He'll thump it long and high inside 50, looking for Fogarty, going up and bringing it down to ground is O'Brien. Now following up McRae, wins it for the Dogs, gets it off to Bailey Williams, kick charge down. Now a live footy picked up by Murphy. Trying to get a handball out, Richards is onto it for the Dogs and he'll kick back towards the wing. In the direction of Norton, who rises high from the back, lands like a cat, gathers the footy, kicks into the pocket, Waitman low down. He slides in and marks 40 metres out on slightly worse than a 45-degree angle for the Dogs.
Just Norton in that contest just kept his feet. The other players went to ground, and the skill on his right side to be able to hit Waitman, lace out Max Michael Annie on him. And that is a concern from Adelaide too. You find that Murray on the getting checked out there. A couple of the tours in the past, he's just coming back, but also Bart's got a high whack against Geelong a couple of weeks ago too.
Waitman comes in with his drop punt. It's just sliding across the face, a minor score. And the Dogs just wasting a few opportunities early in this opening term. They're 1-3-9, Adelaide 1-1-7, 14 played opening term.
Brodie Smith brings the Crows back into play, short to Parnell. Took that big hanger last week against the Saints. He has it in the left back pocket. Looking for options further afield. Kick looking for Murray. It was spoiled away from him. Comes the way of Caleb Daniel. Hand pass to Scott. Snapping on his left. Curling back for the Dogs second. As they extend their lead out to 8 points, courtesy of Anthony Scott. They're 2-3-15 to the Adelaide Crows 1-1-7. And after Adelaide had 4 of the first 5 inside 50s, now the Dogs are making theirs count. Nathan Burke and Rod Jamieson with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, it's just too easy at the moment, just isn't it? Adelaide early, and in the last couple of minutes the Western Bulldogs really taking control. Adelaide have gone inside 50 on 2 or 3 occasions, but they've been able to get the wide ball. The Western Bulldogs run it out, and spoke about Aaron Norton as an example, just keeping his feet in the contest to be able to go forward. The Western Bulldogs all class at the moment.
Bailey Smith up to 10 possessions already. Bontempelli 4, Rory Laird 6, with Gallant 3 leading the way for the Crows.
What did Zach Butters have at three-quarter time? Was it 30 last night? 30 disposals. That's what their target will be for the weekend now.
23 to half-time, I think it was.
Been in good form, Bailey Smith, 32 and 30 in the last fortnight. Loose footy from the restart, emerging with it. Artie Jones, he bursts away from them, kicks into the pocket, going to ground, Waitman over his head. It tumbles to the boundary line and out of play. A throw in the left forward pocket for the Dogs.
Waitman came leading out, ended up on his belly with a Crows player on his back. I wasn't sure where the umpire was looking in that direction.
Crows kicked the first, the Dogs have kicked the last 2. They lead by 8. Umpire spins it back in. O'Brien works his way to the front, slaps it boundary side. Ugle-Hagan going after it. Saligo picks it up though. Handball away, knocked down by Bailey Williams for the Dogs. He's carried towards the boundary. Handball away to McRae, slapped out of his hands. Now Pedler stepping through traffic, can't get away from Bailey Smith. He's had a heap of the footy, now doing the defensive work as well. He carries him out in a throw-in at left half forward for the Dogs. They lead by 8 points, 16 minutes gone, first term.
And just to enhance their ball-winning ability too, they've had 11 interceptions, possessions, Adelaide 5.
Toss back in, O'Brien up against Lobb, one down the tap, got it to Laird, dribbles it around the wing up to Fogarty, good clean pick-up, hand pass to Keys, kicks off the outside of his boot, over the head of Rochelle towards Himmelberg. Liam Jones provides the block and a good pick-up in the end by DeRay. Gets the hand pass away to Gardner for the Dogs. Up to Bailey Williams on the wing. He looks up, he's got Jamara leading for him, goes for him at half forward. Big collision with Hinge coming in from the side. And now he's down on his back as Murray is trying to make sure whether he's okay. Courageous from Mitch Hinge. He spoiled the ball out of play, but now the trainers come racing out.
It was an amazing spoil, that one. Let's hope he's okay.
And Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, the other man who's feeling it is Artie Jones at the moment. It was a big shepherd from Darcy Fogarty when he gave that handball off, and Jones is still on his haunches down here in front of the Bulldogs bench, and obviously concerned now.
Slow to his feet, Mitch Hinge, brave, back line, uses the football well. Last year just came off. I think his first game for Adelaide, he had dislocated his shoulder on 2 occasions and had a shoulder operation over the summer, and just continually puts himself in a position where he's puts his body on the line as he makes his way to the boundary line very slowly.
Looks groggy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just had a little bit of a stumble, a little bit of a stagger there, which is not good. Not good for him, but also not good for the Crows, who aren't overly tall in their defence. He was having to play above his height against Rory Lobb. Without him on the field, they're really going to get stretched by the tall forwards of the Bulldogs.
So Michael Annie comes back onto the ground. A throw in as Lobb slaps it down straight towards Pedler though. Miller trying to go in. Pedler eventually a handball to Dawson, to Laird, who will hook the Crows back towards the wing. Flying Richards, 2 hands to it, doesn't take the mark. Murphy gets it for the Crows. Handball to Sloan, back to Laird. He kicks it out of bounds on the full, so the Dogs will get it. On the wing, for those wondering as well with the Adelaide Crows, Sam Berry is their tactical sub who could potentially come on for Hinge. Matt Crouch from North Ballarat, not in the team today.
Bailey Williams long towards Norton, who rises into the sky and comes down with a super impressive contested mark. That's why he can be one of the most exciting forwards in the game. His ability to take marks like that, and on a 45-degree angle, he'll kick from about 35 metres out to try and complete the job.
As he brings both feet to the ground, I can't help but channel Vitas Gerolaitis with that headband. He just got the hair and made sure he got it out of the eyes as he goes back, steps in.
After the great mark comes the shot on goal. He fades it from left to right. And the Bulldogs with the last 3 goals of the match to open up a 14-point advantage. 3-3-21 to the Adelaide Crows, 1-1-7. And hopefully we get a look at it on the electronic scoreboard opposite us. How many were in the pack there, Jammer? There must have been about 6 players in the pack, in which Aaron Norton flew right above it all to come down with a super mark.
Well, he just gave him the space, didn't he? He just went back, he assessed it really quickly, got to his favoured side, and then just really drove the last 3 or 4 steps right at the pack and had a free jump at us. The rest of them sort of took the contest. I think for me now, Adelaide need to consider they might put Dawson back, they might bring Sambury in if that's all being Mitch Hinge happens to sit out the rest of the game. They might be able to cover the half back, but it'll lessen a rotation in the middle of the ground.
Perfect bounce back in the middle. O'Brien hands to it. No decisive tap though. Now following up, Pedler at ground level. Liberatore trying to extract it. Eventually Dawson does to Laird. Now Scholl getting onto his left. He'll kick towards half forward. Looking for a mark through the hands of O'Brien. Murphy at the back gathers for the Crows. Off to Keys. Snaps into the pocket. Getting back. Jones will mark. Takes the defensive mark for the Bulldogs. In the right back pocket. He'll chip it really short to Gardner. So they lead by 14 points. Just ticking into time on in this first term.
Sends it long up the eastern wing. Norton's flying once more. This time can't come down with a mark. McRae with the hand pass out to Baker. Boundary side. Sends the Dogs towards a vacant half-forward line. Racing back for Adelaide. It trickles out of play in front of Patrick Parnell. And a boundary throw in at right half-forward for the Bulldogs. Dogs leading by 14 points. Ian Cohen's on the boundary.
Yeah, Mitch Hinge has gone down with the club doctor to the rooms for the Adelaide Crows. Sam Berry warming up. The jacket has come off. I think the paperwork will be going in very shortly.
Thanks, Koza. So that sub looking like it's going to take place. Unfortunate for Adelaide and Mitch Hinge, who's had such a great start to the season. For the Crows in the back pocket, Pedler trying to clear, almost brought down by Liberatore. Hand pass to Michael Annie, up and under kick in which Miller tried to make it work. Spills away McRae. First hand pass cut off. Second hand pass to Baker on the boundary line. Centering kick looking for lob. It's over his head and Sloane takes the mark. Bit of a slice mismatch there, but the former Crows captain was up for it. Kicks out to Fogarty at full stretch. Can't reel it in as it comes off his left hand and goes out of play between wing and half forward for the Western Bulldogs. Bulldogs by 14 points, 22 minutes gone opening term.
Inside 50s, 11-6 in favour of the Bulldogs. It was a smart kick there by Baker. He identified Sloane against Rory Lobb, but unfortunately he put the ball to Rory Sloane's side.
Thrown at left half forward for the Dogs. Bringing it down O'Brien. Might have been a throw in there. Pedler swoops on the loose footy. He's tackled quickly. And a ball up. Attacking point of the centre square for the Dogs. They've kicked the last 3 goals of the game. Umpire puts it aloft. Both rucks with hands on it. Onto it, Laird. Kicks the ball into the middle of the ground for the Crows. Slapped down cleverly by Baker. Onto it, Johannesson. Flying shot at goal will be out to the right. And bounced through for a minor score from the 2016 Norm Smith medalist. So another behind for the Dogs. They lead by 15 points. Nearly 23 played in this opening stanza.
Meanwhile, in the match at Docklands, it's the Sydney Swans leading by 4 points. 11 minutes gone, second quarter there. English can't break away as the tackle is applied by Rory Laird. Good work from Laird to lock up the Bulldogs big man, and it'll be balled up just short of half forward for the Dogs. O'Brien wins down the tap, straight to Sloane, tackled by Bontempelli. Ball spills to Millerer, kicks up towards Gallant. He's in a wrestle of strength against Gardner. It spills to Murphy, trying to break away from Richards. Great work, hand pass to Richelli, cut off by Lobb. Hand pass to Liberatore for the Dogs. Hand pass to Daniel, out wide for Baker. Sloane corrals in. Murphy slides in low, beats Lobb to the footy. Can't clear the congestion though, as Richards with a good pick up with one arm, but it's locked to him as Sloane lays the tackle. And a ball up in front of the 2 benches with the Bulldogs leading by 15 points.
Right beneath us, O'Brien hooks it down. Richelli onto the footy, tackled quickly by Bontempelli. Kicks while he's on his backside, ricochets to McRae. He'll go with the check side around the boundary, and Artie Jones and Michael Annie Harvard out of play. A throw in between wing and left half forward for the Dogs. The grey clouds just starting to drift over the ground. Maybe a little bit of inclement weather heading our way.
Heading our way? It's been here since 6 o'clock.
Very chilly. Anything but cosy for Koza downstairs. As emerging with it is Liberatore. Backfeeds a handball to Williams. Kicks the Dogs inside attacking 50. Trying to juggle at Scott. He bounces back up to gather the footy. Handball beyond the attacking 50 to Smith. To Bontempelli. Now back to Bailey Smith. Back to McRae. He'll chip it inside 50. Can't find a target. Live footy left forward pocket for the Dogs. Williams gets a handball away. Michael Annie onto it. He's tackled by Bailey Williams. Umpire says holding the ball. Well, it wasn't pretty, but eventually the Western Bulldogs will get a set shot in their left forward pocket.
Just the pressure from the Western Bulldogs at the moment and sticking their tackles, how clean they are in the congested area. Adelaide are getting the numbers around it, but just can't clean and then get it out to the outside. The Western Bulldogs so much better. Bontempelli just going through the pack. He was going to take 3 on.
Just through the will of the Western Bulldogs, they get this shot for Bailey Williams, who finishes it with a beautiful drop punt. And they've kicked the last 4 goals of this match after the Crows kicked the first. 4-4-28, plays 1-1-7 late in the first term on Grandstand AFL.
contested possessions 26-14 in favour of the Bulldogs at the moment, and what we saw in the first 2-3 minutes where the Crows were really having that swarming defence and driving the ball forward, since then that has been all the Western Bulldogs. Their defending has been outstanding. When the ball hits the ground, they look like they've got at least one or two extra players at every contest and being able to use their hands to get the ball to a free player and get the ball inside 50. So I think quarter time can't come quickly enough for Matty Nix and his team.
Tackles 15-10 in favour of the Bullies and 3-0 inside 50 as well.
Dogs out by 21 points. English one down the tap, but it was Laird who combined with Dawson. Back to Laird and Miller from the back edge of the centre square through the middle. Pedler took the mark just in front of Sam Berry, who's come on. Looks to send it inside 50. Darcy Fogarty the target. Charging in front was Liam Jones. Fists at a good 20 metres. It clears Liberatore. Miller back onto it. Not a great kick inside 50. Johannesson got a hand to it. It's Rankin onto it now, trying to curl it around his body. On the right boot, misses to the right-hand side. A minor score. And the Bulldogs leading by 20 points. Approach quarter time. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
As you identified, Sam Berry, that sub has been activated and the precipitation is starting first of the afternoon.
Call me Nate Byrne as the Bulldogs go down their southern wing quickly towards half forward. Bouncing ball for Scott. Has to track back and pick it up. Handball to Johannesson. He's tackled there by Dawson. Just gets a handball away. Scholes onto it. Now the Crows go down the southern wing. Pedler's kick is ugly. And it allows the Dogs through O'Brien to gather the footy. Handball to Dale. Handball back to Bontempelli. He'll kick around the wing towards half forward. Miller brings it down a post to Smith. Smith can extract it though. Picks it up. Beautiful handball out of the congestion to Baker, who whacks it long on goal and just clips the post. A minor score. Very nearly the long range finish from Oscar Baker. And the Bulldogs are peppering at the moment. So it's out to 21 points.
They'd have been a bit fumbly too. Just that example, Anthony Scott, Paddy Parnell. He's got a blood rule. Rory O'Brien is coming to the sideline. If you're going to leave your man and go up, and he did the right thing to be able to do that, the footy hit the ground and it skidded. It would have been 2-on-1, but he fumbled. The ball has gone over the back and the Western Bulldogs go forward.
If you want to get in touch with us on the SMS, 0437 774 774. Rod Jamieson put it out there. Favourite First Nation players you've enjoyed watching over the generations as Murray sends Adelaide back into attack, into defence. It's a high ball to half-back. Rochelle has it spoiled away from him and it goes out in front of Saligo and Bailey Williams. Suggestions on the SMS coming through for Polly Farmer. No surprise there. One of the all-time greats. Michael O'Loughlin as well. Sydney winning the grand final from Tina in Hoppers Crossing.
Over 300 games, wasn't it?
Yeah. So send them through on the SMS 0437 774 774. Himmelberg into the ruck for the Crows, but it's English who gets the clearance. Hand pass out in front of Waitman. Slipped over in front of Saligo. Hand pass back to Bailey Smith. Another kick coming up. 14 inside 50 towards the lob. Got hands to it. Couldn't take the mark. Butts taps it out of play for a boundary throw in. Left forward pocket for the Western Bulldogs, who are heading to the northern end here at Eureka Stadium. Bulldogs leading by 21 points.
I'd put young Berry onto Bailey Smith now and say don't let him touch it, at least for the rest of the quarter.
Forward 50 stoppage for the Dogs. Norton doing the ruck work. Himmelberg goes up, hands to it. Knocks it down to Laird, away to Berry, and a clearing kick coming from Parnell. Out towards Rochelle.
You don't have to be very late these days for a downfield free kick.
So Rochelle's kick for the winger turnover. Gardner's able to mark just in the field of play. Neutral territory on the broadcast wing.
19-9 now, turnovers.
Gardner will thump it long towards half forward. Ugle-Hagan goes up, doesn't mark. Front and square is Laird for the Crows. Twisting, turning, unsure where to go. High ball to the wing. Jones will go up. Gardner puts his fist through it. Loose footy.
Himmelberg gathers for the Crows, sends it long towards half forward. Pedler the target, up against Johannesson. He rises in front, has players streaming past him. Kicking for Rochelle, it won't get to him. Jones gathered just as Fogarty got there late, the later tackle. Hand pass to DeRay, almost brought down to Bontempelli, to Johannesson. Good hands from the Dogs under immense pressure to Liberatore, who kicks out to Bailey Williams. He marks on the western wing. Looks up towards English, won't reach him as Himmelberg cuts in front. Takes the intercepting mark for the Crows. He can chip it to Rankin. Not far from where Ian Cohen's watching on.
Absolutely, and I'm watching on the Adelaide medical staff working on Riley O'Brien at the moment. Had an issue with the right side of his cheek. He looks good to go now, though, but he spent 4 minutes off the ground.
So the kick from Rankin to half forward, off hands out a player throwing right half forward for the Crows.
Sorry, Ben. Again, it's just Adelaide going forward. They're pretty straight down the line at the moment. They've got an opportunity to put it into space. They've missed their targets, and we touched on the turnover number. It's 21-10 now. It's not the stat that you want to be leading.
Rain falling here in Ballarat, knocking it down English. Onto it, Daniel. Handball to Bailey Dale, to Bontempelli, to English. Dogs with it. Handball to Bailey Smith. He'll kick around the wing. A floater. Caught behind. Scott has to spoil. Now attacking the footy. Berry ferociously. He wins it and gets a handball away. Himmelberg onto it. Eventually it spits out. And Daniel will pick it up for the Western Bulldogs.
Cutting and weaving, boundary side, kicks up towards the lob. Scholl in front, brought it down. Lob becomes the tackler. And the footy is locked under him and Nick Murray for a ball up between wing and half forward. Bulldogs leading by 21 points. Approaching quarter time at Eureka Stadium in Ballarat. Himmelberg up against English. Himmelberg won it down, but Liberatore roped it best for the Dogs. Hand pass to Daniel. Feeds it away to Bailey Williams. Raking kick inside 50. Norton the target. Murray sets himself in front, brought it down. Norton gathers. Good tackle. Pin. One arm from Butt. Somehow got the kick to Bontempelli. Standing start. It just clips the very top of the right goalpost. Almost the most superb goal. I'm still not sure how Norton was able to swing that ball to his boot, giving you he's being tackled with one arm pinned, with the Bont just missing to the right-hand side. Bulldogs by 22 points.
Still class, isn't it? Keep your feet, strength over the football. Josh Rochelle did the similar down here in front of the broadcast box.
Jones with the long kick in towards the wing. Himmelberg able to knock it down. Berry onto the footy, loses it under the pressure of a tackle. Bailey Williams picks it up, gives it back to Bailey Dale. Goes onto his right, then his left, kicks inside 50, coming at the footy. Ugal Hagen ricochets off him. Waitman gathers, he snaps towards goal and misses. To the left-hand side, behind 11 scoring shots in the opening term for the Dogs. They lead as it stands at the moment by 23 points.
It's 11 scoring shots from 18 inside 50s. That's a pretty impressive clip.
As Jones looks to bring the Crows back into play. Down low for Saligo, who couldn't take the mark. Fogarty was trying to lead up to the ground, couldn't get there. Goes out of play at left half forward for the Bulldogs. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, the turnstiles have been clicking over here on the boundary. Artie Jones now often getting the right wrist strapped at the moment, so he's had issues. He's trying to get flexibility and mobility in there, Artie Jones.
Bit going on down there with Riley O'Brien off at the moment, and Mitch Hinge has already been subbed out, and Sam Berry into the game. Sloan for the Crows, gathers at half back, sends it up towards Fogarty. The ball bounces in front of he and Liam Jones, and that'll do us. The opening quarter is in the books, and a promising start for the Western Bulldogs. They're 4-7-31 to the Adelaide Crows 1-2-8. And as Nathan Burke made mention of, the Bulldogs with 18 inside 50s to the Adelaide Crows 9. And after Adelaide kicked the first goal of the match through Lockie Gallant, they had 4 of the first 5 inside 50s. The Bulldogs are able to take control from that point onwards with the next 4 goals of the match. Coming through Bailey Williams, Aaron Norton, Anthony Scott and Ryan Gardner with just the 3rd goal of his career. And Lockie Gallant, the only goal scorer for the Adelaide Crows. The Bulldogs leading by 23 points at Eureka Stadium in Ballarat. Meanwhile, at Docklands in Melbourne, it's approaching halftime there, and it's the Sydney Swans leading North Melbourne by 16 points. The Swans 6-7-43 to North Melbourne 4-3-27, with 2 goals to Peter Laddams, individuals to Franklin and McLean, alongside Braden Campbell, and for North Melbourne, goals to Curtis, Ford and Goldstein, with Simpkin and Parker the other goal scorers for the Swans and the Roos. Great to have your company on Saturday afternoon footy on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
This winter, get ready for 8 weeks of cricket like you have never heard before.
One of the most dramatic mornings Test cricket you'll ever see.
The World Test Championship final.
Cullen's on his way. Coley is forward. Driving, caught by Green. Coley out for 4.
The Women's Ashes.
Beaumont's who struck on the pad, and Perry's appealing, and she's got another one. High fives for the Australian.
And a rivalry bigger than the game itself. The Ashes.
Goes and involves to Smith, who works that away. There it is. 200, and he'll take another for luck as well.
Grandstand cricket. The Ashes. matches.
Every ball, live and commercial free this winter with ABC Sport.
This is the Sir Doug Nicholls Round.
On your radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app.
Parnell, he has it in the left back pocket. Looking for options further afield. Kick looking for Murray. It was spoiled away from him. Comes the way of Caleb Daniel. Half-buster Scott snapping on his left. Curling back for the Dogs second. Bailey Williams on towards Norton, who rises into the sky and comes down with a super impressive contested mark. That's why he can be one of the most exciting forwards in the game. After the great mark comes the shot on goal. He fades it from left to right.
Live footy left forward pocket for the Dogs. Williams gets a handball away. Michael Lanny onto it. He's tackled by Bailey Williams. Umpire says holding the ball. Just through the will of the Western Bulldogs. They get this shot for Bailey Williams, who finishes it with a beautiful drop punt.
The 2023 Sir Doug Nicholls Round.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Quarter time from Eureka Stadium in Ballarat. A dominant start for the Western Bulldogs. They're 4-7-31 to the Adelaide Crows 1-2-8. Matt Clinch and Ben Cameron calling the action, and Cohen is down on the boundary. The thoughts of our experts, Rod Jamieson and Nathan Burke.
Well, Adelaide got out of the blocks okay, but then really struggled, didn't they, too? They just couldn't get it inside 50, and when they did, they missed their targets. Just having a look at the disposals around the ground, in the top 12, there's only 2 Adelaide players, and that's Rory Laird with 15 and Jordan Dawson with a 6. The rest is just all the Western Bulldogs. The congested areas, the Western Bulldogs are well and truly doing the clearance work better. They're getting it out the back, getting it out the side, getting it to the runners, where Adelaide just bombing it higher down the line and to contested areas. You saw Liam Jones in that last inside 50 just leave his man, come out and get a double fist to it and just punch it about 15 or 20 metres back down the line. Adelaide haven't been able to clear the contested stuff, getting beaten up. Uncontested, where Adelaide was so good last week. The Western Bulldogs well and truly on top there by 25 in these conditions. Adelaide need to get their hands on the football. On top of that, Mitch Hinge to the side. Dick Murray spent some time there. Riley O'Brien. So they've had to pull on their substitute pretty early in the first quarter. So they've got some challenges, as Matty Nix has now got them really tight in the huddle to have a chat.
Yeah, to me, it's the Western Bulldogs are winning their contested possessions, 33-22. And then once they win that contest, they've got players around that contest to release the ball to. So if you look at their handball to kick ratio, they've had 50 kicks and 56 handballs. And you probably say, you know, in these wet conditions, you probably don't want to be doing that. But they're doing it because they're getting those extra numbers to the contest. And once they win the hard one, then they've got the easy ones to get the ball inside 50, whereas the Crows, they're the opposite, 55 kicks, 27 handballs. It's everything. It's win a hard one and then try and bang it forward. It's win a hard one, bang it forward. They don't have any synergy around the players who are around the footy to get some free ball and get the ball nicely inside 50. Apart from the first 2 entries, everything else has just been a bomb inside 50. It's played into Ferguson and Jones and these guys' hands. They bring the ball to ground, and then Johannisen and the guys go from there. So for me, the Crows got to start winning the contested footy, and you need to get more players around the footy, get a bit of synergy into that area around the ball to get some clean entries inside forward 50.
Some big news coming around the Tasmanian AFL side, Benny, from Chris Rowbottom reporting from Tasmania.
Yeah, so Chris Rowbottom on Twitter said the Macquarie Point Stadium must now pass Upper House of Tasmanian Parliament, which is made up of 4 Labor, 4 Lib, 7 Independents. If all Labor vote no, the government will need 4 of the 7 Independents to vote yes. Failing that, the stadium will be rejected and the AFL team dream is dead.
So big news coming from Tasmania. We'll bring you the latest as it comes. Bulldogs by 23 points. Jones trying to get it for Adelaide. It's worked its way out onto the western wing. Back through half-back, and Sam Berry takes the mark at centre half-back, having received it from Smith. Sends it out towards Scholl, who gathers it right half-back. In front of the hill here at Eureka Stadium. Sends it up towards Pedler. Over the head of he and Johannisen. Picked up by DeRay at half-back. Sends it up towards Lobb, but in front, Scholl takes the mark, hugging it to his chest. Centre wing, Bulldogs leading by 23 points. Opening minute of the second quarter.
I feel the ponchos out On that southern wing now is Scholl. Kicks long towards the contest. O'Brien at the back, reaching over, not quite. Berry Rose gives it off to Millerer. Hooks a kick into the forward pocket. Fogarty going up one-handed. Can't take the mark. Going at ground level, Keys. He sees it out. And a throw in, right forward pocket for the Adelaide Crows, who haven't been good in second terms this year. They're 4-5 and have lost their last 3.
Toss back into play. Riley O'Brien's back on the field up against English. It spills to the front where Fogarty races after it. Overran the footy. Liam Jones, as it's right on the boundary line, left it for DeRay. He couldn't get a hand pass away. And the umpire will throw it in as it was knocked out across the boundary line. It's about 6 rows of seating underneath the grandstand there at the northern end of Eureka Stadium. They're probably the best seats in the house. As it's thrown back into play, English and O'Brien. Spills down the way of Caleb Daniel. A clearing kick up towards half-back. McRae gathered in front of Millerer. Then had to get a hand pass to Lobb as he was tackled by Scholl. Bailey Smith's over the footy. He's wrestling with Sam Berry. He can't wrestle it clear. And the umpire will ball it up. Bailey Smith with 16 disposals. Rory led with 15. Leading the way for the 2 respective sides. Bulldogs by 23 points.
Adelaide have got a choice to make here. You got Caleb Daniel has gone down to the contest. Brodie Smith behind the football in the defence. He's just playing that general, but he's not having an impact on the game.
Dawson getting a kick away, but intercepting is Duray, the dual premiership hawk. Goes short laterally to Dale, who flares a kick to right half back, and the mark taken by Richards. As the Dogs move it on through kick mark, Richards short again to McRae. Loves playing here. Does McRae. 7 times out of his 9 matches here, he's had over 30. He'll kick towards half forward. Going up, O'Donnell launching at it. Unable to mark. Miller there for the Crows. Flicks out a handball quickly. Straight to Bailey Williams. Standing up in a tackle and a ball up on the broadcast wing. So still the Dogs by 23 as we were at quarter time.
Thrown up, O'Brien wins down the tap, but it's Bailey Smith for the Dogs. Gets the hand pass to Williams. High kick inside 50. Michael Annie's back. He's underneath it. Takes a good mark going back with the flight in the left back pocket for the Adelaide Crows.
And this is where Adelaide gets on top in this part of the game, in the early part of the second quarter, because the number, the extra, is around the contest.
Max Michael Annie long down the wing looking for O'Brien. English spoils it down. Rankin trying to spin out of traffic. Tackled by Johannesson. Drop the footy. Bontempelli for the Dogs. Hand pass to Bailey Smith to Williams to the run of Johannesson at right half forward for the Dogs. Inside 50. Artie Jones is there. Can't take the mark. Norton the crummer. Breaks the Michael Annie tackle. Centering kick. Liver's got it. Great unselfish footy from the Bulldogs spearhead to find Tom Liberatore directly in front, 25 metres out from goal.
He had Cody Waitman in the goal square for about 5 seconds, which is a long time in footy terms. He thought about it, and thought, 20 metres out, dead in front, I'm going to back myself.
6 goals through this season for Tom Liberatore to extend the Bulldogs' lead. He's missed.
Past it.
Just came in and stabbed at it a little bit, heading to the old scoreboard end. And a minor score for the Bulldogs, who lead by 24 points. Adelaide's only goal coming at the 6-minute mark of the first term.
Ooh, having a career year, but can't finish there as Millerer long towards the wing, juggling it. Nick Murray's able to mark.
Liberatore's and hitting the post has a bit of a history with these two teams.
That's hit a nerve from any Western Bulldogs. Yeah.
Murray, high ball towards half forward, right on the arc of 50. Spills down in the end and able to mop up. Tim O'Brien gives it off to English for the Dogs. Daniel marks on the wing. Off to O'Donnell. Onto his left leg. Puts it out in front of Artie Jones. Bouncing ball. He'll gather. Handball to himself. He'll over-rev and fall over. They pile on top. Eventually Waitman arrives. Loose footy now. 15 out from the attacking goal for the Dogs. Jones tries again and unable to come up with it. A good effort from Butts going step for step with Artie Jones back towards goal. A ball up, 15 out from the Dogs' goal.
It was a good kick by O'Donnell out in front of Jones. You thought he might have had the pace, but Butts did really well.
Norton and O'Brien, and Norton tries to follow up his right work. Hand pass to Artie Jones, little topo, only as far as Murray. Clearing kick for the Crows towards Fogarty, but Liam Jones works his way in front. Takes the mark on his chest. He's at left half forward. Everyone bar 3 or 4 players are inside the Western Bulldogs forward 50. He sends it towards Lobb and Bontempelli. They spoil each other in the end. Liberatore down low. Can't get a clearing hand pass. Sam Berry's tackled as Caleb Daniel locks him up. He's 40 metres out from the Western Bulldogs goal. Heading to the southern end here at Eureka Stadium in Adelaide. It's the cherry picker for the TV cameras and the old and the electronic scoreboard. From the ball up, Dawson tries to clear it for the Crows, lost it. Bontempelli with a hand pass to Bailey Smith. Andy Jones, massive fly up early before acceptances and gave away the free kick. Goodness me, that was some leap.
Wow.
Unfortunately, it was up well before the ball was in the area, and Adelaide will take the free kick through Chase Jones.
You want him to take those sort of things. That was freakish.
He was so high.
Just the numbers again from the Bullies winning it at the contest, and it's putting the defence of Adelaide under enormous pressure. Adelaide have got the number. They need to make a decision here because Caleb Daniels can getting a truckload of the football, as is Bailey Smith, who continues to have a big influence on the game from the first quarter also.
Dogs by 24 and Miller turns it over. Bailey Dale marks on the logo of the southern wing. Kicks infield. Mark taken by Johannesen. Feeds the handball forward to Richards. Has to kick on his non-preferred right. Low bouncing ball inside attacking 50. Liberatore picks it up. Out to Jones. He's been threatening. Breaks the tackle. Spins. Snaps. Misses. Oh, it's been very nearly for Arthur Jones here in this term. He's threatening to break out. 4:9:33 plays 1-8, 7 minutes into the second.
7 players to kick behind for the Bullies. Cody Waitman's kicked 2 of those.
5 inside 50s to 2, the Bulldogs' way so far in this second quarter. Laird's long kick to half-back. Rochelle over the head of Rankin. And the mark is taken by Liam Jones. Feeds the hand pass to the run of Dale. In 2 minds, pulls his kick into the middle of the ground where it's marked by Richards with his left mitt. Has it inside the centre circles. Looks out towards Norton on the lead. He's got separation. Takes the mark. Butts and Miller and neither could get a hand to it. And the forwards of the Western Bulldogs just starting to look dangerous.
It's just too easy for the Western Bulldogs getting the ball from centre half back all the way through to Norton in their forward line. 3 times they've booted the ball just forward, and it's been Liam Jones who's read each one, got himself in expert position again to drive that ball back the other direction.
He's kicked a goal in every game, has one already today from just inside 50 for his second. It's out to the left and a minor score. The Bulldogs lead by 26 points. 8 minutes gone, second term on ABC Sport.
Adelaide don't need another play down. The head trainer of Adelaide's just gone out to Isaac Rankin. He's just trying to run something out his lower right leg.
Brodie Smith runs to the right back pocket, drives a low ball out towards the wing. Dawson unable to mark. Rochelle arrives. Can't pick it up first time, can second. Eventually gets it onto the boot, bounces it to half forward. Jones is there for the Dogs, slaps it away. Straight to Gardner. Handball back inside D50 to Johannesen, and the kick just good enough to find a teammate there in Bailey Williams. Williams at right half back for the Dogs, stabs it short. And leading up, able to mark English on his chest. So they lead by 26 at the moment. A little bit of special comments from the crowd for the Crows as well.
English back to Johannesen inside the defensive 50. Switches it out to left half back. The trainer almost got involved as Baker came streaming up to half back. No damage done. Kick is over the head of O'Brien though, and the mark is taken by Murray for the Crows. In front of the fans on the eastern side of Eureka Stadium on the hill. Poncho's required. Sends it up towards half forward. Fogarty the target. Liam Jones reaches over the top. He sees it out of play for a boundary throw in. Right half forward for the Crows.
Had Lockie Gallant too slow. That was the easier kick. He went back to Fogarty. He was 2-on-1.
Bulldogs by 26 points. Adelaide's only goal came at the 6-minute mark of the opening term. The Bulldogs with the next 4 of the match, including a couple of behinds early in this second quarter. Thrown back in. Himmelberg and English. It's tapped to the front. Chance for Dawson. He can't break clear as Liberatore is hanging to his waist. And the umpire will ball it up 50 out from Adelaide's goal.
Up it goes. Himmelberg backhanding it down. Berry unable to pick it up. Spills out to Jones. Floats it towards full forward. Launching Gallant. He's unable to claim it. And eventually Richards will knock it out and we'll get a throw in. Right forward pocket for the Crows. Have just neutralised the last few minutes
Just rush though, just getting it in. There's just getting the footy onto the foot as quickly as you can with no real direction or execution. Just the pressure that's being applied by the Bulldogs around the contest.
What can they muster from a forward 50 stoppage? English down for Bontempelli, stands up in the Dawson and Himmelberg tackle. Another forward 50 stoppage, right forward pocket. English hands on it. Eventually Liberatore spins into trouble. Handball out, sharked by Dawson, snaps towards goal. Jones is there. Handball away to Bailey Smith. Handball to McRae. He'll thump the Dogs to the wing.
Sends it up towards Jamari Ugelhagen and Lob. Lob flies against Murray. Can't take the mark. Murray trying to duck out of a tackle. Lost the footy. Ugelhagen has another go. He's locked up by Michael Annie. Spills the way of Norton. He's brought down by Berry. Rory Laird gets a hand pass away. A dribbling kick up towards Pedler. Can't gather. As it goes out of play at right half forward for the Crows.
There was better play around the contest there by the Crows. A couple of times the Bulldogs had their hands on it, but good tackling. Got the ball forward, but again, it's just getting the ball forward in a scrappy way. There's no chain of handballs out of a contest.
Bulldogs with 24 inside 50s to Adelaide's 13. The Crows with 3 marks inside 50 to the Dogs 4. It's Bailey Smith's tackle. Hand pass to English, gets it to Oscar Baker from half back, up towards Ugelhagen, tackled and dispossessed. Jones slides in. Roy Lobb lays the tackle and the ball's stuck underneath those two. Adelaide with just the 1 tackle though, Jamo, inside their forward 50. The Bulldogs with 5. That pressure they've become so notorious with. The free kick and the ruck battle. It's going the way of Elliot Himmelberg, who'll take it centre wing for the Adelaide Crows.
Himmelberg sells a little bit of candy and eventually gets onto his right, goes long towards the pocket. Gallant flying. Can't bring it down on this occasion. It stays in for a long period of time and eventually knocked out. A throw in, 45 around from the attacking goal here for the Adelaide Crows. Can they find one to maybe ignite a little bit of a comeback?
Just need to have players to tip the contest here at speed. At worst, difficult in these conditions to take it clean, but the opportunity for the Bullies to give away a free.
Himmelberg bringing it down and a free kick. It's going to go the way of the Crows. It'll go to Rankin. Happy with your work there, Jamo?
You just got to give yourself a chance, don't you? Get to the contest, and the Western Bulldogs have been so good around it. Not only are they clean, they just get it out the back, out to the side, and the early part of this second quarter, they've just managed to run it out. The defence of Adelaide is shutting them down across the half-back and the wing, but they're just bombing it straight back in. They need to find a different way to get it inside 50.
One of 2 Indigenous players out there for the Adelaide Crows today. He's got sublime skills, and he shows us them here. Will that ignite the Crows in Ballarat? It's back to 20 points, just their second major of the afternoon. The Western Bulldogs 4-10-34, Adelaide 2-2-14, 14 minutes into this second term on Grandstand AFL.
We were contemplating how were Adelaide going to actually score a goal. The way that they were bombing the ball back in there, it was just playing into the Western Bulldogs' hands, and as it turns out, you get a free kick. And the good thing was that Isaac Rankin, it was a pretty tough shot from a long way out and put it straight through the middle. So well done on taking his chances, but they need to find some ways to craft some goals and can't rely on the umpire giving them free kicks.
And in these conditions, on the ground inside 50, you touched on it, Clinchy, too. You got Murphy up there, Keys up there, Rochelle up there, and a clearance to Adelaide. Way they go.
As Jordan Dawson tries to get them going, long kick inside 50. It might bounce through. Gets right to the goal line. Oh, and carrying into the post was Ryan Gardner. Into the right goal post, through for a minor score for the Adelaide Crows. A 19-point lead the Western Bulldogs way. Just the 1 goal so far in this second quarter through 15 minutes.
Well, the best way to do it is from the centre to be able to, in these conditions, 1 bounce over the back. Dawson, great left foot, but the players that I aforementioned, they just need to be able to keep the pressure applying in their forward 50.
Well, Bontempelli drops the kick in from Bailey Dale, gives it back to him, and he kicks it out on the full.
Much better.
The Crows have found life. Murphy goes short to Keys. He takes it 47 metres out, a 45-degree angle.
I'm not
right
sure
side
about
for
that
a left
kick.
footer.
Sorry, Ben. Not sure about that kick. If you can't actually make the distance from there, it's not really a great kick. We'll see whether Ben Keys can or not. He'll be kicking from around about 51. It just allowed all the Bulldogs players to get back, and there was no second option.
Ben Keys, he'll wheel around in game 100. He'll send it on goal and miss to the right. Just tugging it off that left boot. A minor score, but the Crows are coming. It's back to 19 points. 18 points, rather.
And at Docklands, it's Sydney leading North Melbourne by 15 points at half-time. As Bailey Dale brings the Bulldogs back into play. Waitman takes the acrobatic mark at right half-back. Wants to try and work it up towards O'Donnell. In from the side, Berry slides in front of Saligo to take the mark for the Crows. All of a sudden getting more of the game locked in their forward half. Wheels onto the right-hand side, long towards Fogarty. Jones up in front, punches it down. Bailey Dale with a hand pass to Waitman. Bangs it out of defence up to the wing. Michael Lanny reaches out. Spoils it down over the front of O'Donnell. Pinched by Parnell. Kicks towards the top of the 50. Won't get to Keys, and Baker slides in front to take the mark for the Bulldogs at halfback.
So Baker puts it out in front of Ugle-Hagan on the southern wing. He juggles the mark. It's time to stop, prop, and assess his options. On his left leg, looking for a leading Norton. He can't complete the mark. He got a chopping of the arms though. Jordan Butts slapping away the forearms of Norton. He'll just set it up into the pocket, looking for a run and jump from someone. Spoilt down by O'Donnell. Waitman onto the footy. Handball too hot there for lob. Murray will come and pick it up. He almost throws it out. Umpire lets them play. Bailey Smith picks it up. He's tackled to ground. And a ball up 30 metres out from the attacking goal for the Western Bulldogs.
Mitch Hinge was subbed out for the Adelaide Crows in the first quarter. Sam Berry into the action. Lockie McNeil the sub for the Western Bulldogs. From the ball up, O'Brien wins down the tap. There's nowhere to go as Butts is on the bottom of the pack and locked up by Norton. Umpire tosses it in the air. O'Brien slaps it down, looking for Laird. It spills the way of Scott. Charges in with his head first into Brodie Smith. All locked underneath those two, and the umpire once more. Ray Chamberlain will come in and ball it up. A lot of numbers at this contest. Norton doing the ruck work in the forward 50 for the Dogs. Gets it down to Jamara Ugle-Hagan. He's tackled by Murray. And a third stoppage in quick succession. Trying to find a way forward for the Dogs. Norton punches it forward. Scott, clean pick-up. Dodging and weaving. Hand pass to Daniel. Jams it onto his boot. Working back towards the goal mouth, and he gets it there. Michael Lanning trying to get a touch onto it, but it was over the line. And the damaging Bulldog Caleb Daniel. Rod Jamison made mention of him and how instrumental he can be for the Western Bulldogs. He provides their first goal of the second quarter and fifth of the match. They're 5-10-40 to the Adelaide Crows 2-4-16. 18 minutes gone, second term on ABC Sport.
Well, they've just done it again, isn't it? There's numbers around the football, but goal side, and Caleb Daniels the player that's just continuing to get a lot of the football either in the middle of the ground or behind it, and Adelaide is sitting with their defender one out in the back half. The numbers are there for the Western Bulldogs, and for a diminutive player, he's just so skillful, both sides of the body, both hands, and just to snap it like that. And you've got James O'Donnell in the square, big body, be able to shepherd through.
And a part of your brethren, Berkey, lid on as the clear and kick comes from Laird out towards the wing, gathered there by Scholl. He's able to run a little circle, gives it off to Sloan. Handball forward, Richards going through, and eventually he'll see it out and a throw in on the southern wing.
Yeah, he can't help but take particular attention of the lidded players, but yeah, he's an absolute gun. Yeah, who would have thought a fella that size? When he walks through the club, you think, who's this little fella coming through? Is he a trainer or someone like that? But no, he's an all-Australian AFL player.
The water boy.
Yeah, that's what he looks like. Here he is again.
Nathan Berg, Rod Jamison, Matt Clinch, Ben Cameron and Ian Cohen with you on ABC Sport. Bailey Williams for the Western Bulldogs sends it up towards half forward. Scott and Parnell. Murray comes in off support for the Crows. Hand pass to Butts. He's tackled, dispossessed. O'Connell tries to knock it towards Bailey Smith. Keeps it in play. A high kick into the pocket. Have a fly at that, in which Waitman does from the side. Almost took the mark. Spills to Artie Jones. He's tackled by Parnell and taken over the boundary line in front of the electronic scoreboard, which reads the Western Bulldogs 5-10-40 to Adelaide 2-4-16. The Bulldogs by 24 points. 5 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Threatening to break out.
I need to find out the helmet story, Berkey, from you. I'm not aware of that.
Umpire spins it in. English brings it down. Sloan can't gather it. Going through O'Brien. His kick ricochets to Liberatore. Feeds it to McRae. Hooks it back towards Williams. He juggles it. And Bailey Williams completes the mark as he tumbles to ground. 35 metres out. The slightest of angles to the right-hand side.
This is one bloke who's been a real success story this year for the Western Bulldogs. As we said, with Lockie Hunter going, they needed to nail down those wing spots, and with Oscar Baker on one and this guy patrolling the other one, he's been very, very consistent. Pushing forward, kicking goals this year too.
Kicked a goal in the first term. Boot to ball from 35. He tugs it left. So the lead back out to 25 points, or out to 25 points, a game-high lead. Ian Cohen downstairs.
Yeah, Brody Smith's being worked on at the moment by the Adelaide physio. Looks like he's got a bit of a back complaint. They're certainly working the bottom part of his back.
Thanks, Koza. Murray with a long kick in. Up to O'Brien, who rises and takes the mark. Drops it awkwardly onto his boot, looking for Gallant, who leads up and marks in front of Liam Jones. Has Himmelberg inside the forward 50. Centres it towards he and Rankin. Up goes Gardner, spoils it down. Rankin the crummer. Hand pass to Rochelle. Swings onto his left, over his shoulder. Got it! Adelaide with 2 of the last 3 goals of the match as they start to make inroads on the Western Bulldogs lead back to 19 points. 5-11-41 the Dogs to the Crows 3-4-22, and Rochelle joins Rankin and Gallant as the Adelaide Crows goal kickers.
Well, Riley O'Brien takes the big strong mark out in front of us here in the back half. His clean kick, Gallant finds a bit of space, and again it was just a bomb into the forward 50. It was a 2-on-1. Rankin stayed down with the handball and got it to Rochelle. So just, I guess, the concern and the space that allowed the Bulldogs, they were just a bit jumpy at that particular time, but Adelaide don't need another defender, let alone another player to go down. Brody Smith, he's back on the ground now, so we'll keep an eye on him.
And Tim English, when the ball is kicked 65 metres in the air to you and your opponent, you can't let them take an uncontested mark.
English down for Bontempelli. Handball to Liberatore. Gets it out to Daniel. High ball towards half forward. O'Donnell coming out of the footy. Fisted away from him. Miller tries to get it at ground level. Stripped of it. Picking it up. Bontempelli. Handball away for Liberatore. Pros get it moving forward, but Juray's there for the Dogs. Across half back. Off to Gardner. To Johannesson. His kick out towards the wing, looking for Baker. He can't quite gather it. He knocks it out. A throw in on the southern wing.
James O'Donnell's a good size, isn't he, too?
I did see his dad, Simon, went in and spoke to the players, presented him with his jumper. I did wonder how many of the Dogs actually know that he used to just pogo the world's best quicks back over their head.
Wasn't he good? It's more like Andrew Simons type, wasn't it, before?
He's got a seat in his honour at the MCG for the biggest 6 for those not aware. Chase Jones for the Crows on the wing. Kicks up to half forward looking for Rochelle. And the mark is taken by DeRay for the Bulldogs.
Thought he should have just dropped that in. And boys, next time you run out to the G, just look up to the great southern stand and spot the white chair. That was me.
Who's this 6'4" bloke just sobbing as he hands over a jumper to his son? Eh? One of the greatest cricketers for Australia in the one-day form.
Baker up to the wing. Murray brought it down. Norton squeezed the kick up towards half forward. Miller racing back. He'll trickle out a play out in front of he. And left half forward for the Western Bulldogs, who lead by 19 points. They got out by 25 points on a couple of occasions in this second quarter. Thankfully, the rain has stopped, but it has got pretty dark in Ballarat, so the lights are on, and they might have to power up a bit more throughout the afternoon. Don't think you could have this as a twilight fixture. As O'Brien wins down the tap for the Crows. To Chase Jones, who swings back onto his left. Up to the wing towards Murphy. Johannesson knocks it away from him for the Dogs. Hand pass to Oscar Baker. High kick up in the air, up towards half forward. Pedler underneath. Liberatore just pushed him straight back in the middle of the back on either side of the numbers, and the umpire standing right in front saw that, a free kick the way of Pedler. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Well, you're quite right, Clinchy. The rain has stopped, but it's dropped about 5 degrees. I got married in Ballarat many, many years ago, and all my friends just remember, great wedding, but geez, it was cold.
I feel like looking over to the outer stand, they should have bins where you can just do open fires and just stand around, isn't it? Eh?
I like that. 19 points is the advantage the way of the Dogs. Throw in on the northern wing. O'Brien palms it down in front. Going after it, Bailey Smith. He slips over, keeps it in the end. Emerges with the footy. Kicks the Dogs towards half forward. Going back, Butts drops the mark. Might allow in Ugle-Hagan. He loses it in the tackle. Umpire lets them play. Liberatore picks it up. Tries to wait his kick. Trying to find Norton. Can't quite. Loose footy, left forward pocket. Norton gathers. Gets it on the boot. Bounces it to Ugle-Hagan. He drops it. Coming through again is Norton. Eventually he gets it out. Bontempelli soccers it. And pretty content is Paddy Parnell to just knock it through. And a rush behind in the end. It was UGLY ugly. There for all concerned. 20 points the Dogs lead.
Jordan Butts, great tackle.
Parnell brings the Crows back into play to Brodie Smith, who wants to move it up towards Himmelberg against Gardner. Juggles the mark. Takes it centre wing. On the eastern side of Eureka Stadium. Gives the hand pass to Murphy, who comes inboard to Laird. Possession number 20 coming up for Rory Laird. Brodie Smith with 23 for the Western Bulldogs. Laird sends it inside 50 towards Fogarty. In the pack, Jones punches it down. Rochelle trying to crumb it. Gallant taps it around the boundary line. And eventually out of play. Have to go back to Kozer and find out how many were at the wedding.
Why Ballarat as well?
Get that on the other side of the halftime siren.
Glad it was only the weather, not the reception that was cold.
Are you wearing Ugg boots?
So many questions. Thrown back in. We'll get to Koza at half-time. It's slapped down the way of Rory Lobb in the back half for the Dogs. Hand pass to Liberatore. Up towards Ugle-Hagan. Murray worked him underneath. He's having a good second quarter. That wasn't his best hand pass. Put Parnell under pressure. Gets it away to Millerer. Kicks through the middle of Ballarat. It's over the head of Rochelle. Racing onto it is Richards for the Dogs. Chips it out to Oscar Baker. He can gather in front of the two benches.
Here's Baker over to pick it up. Chiseling a ball beautifully for Bontempelli. 2 kicks from home for the Dogs. He'll try and use this one for Ugle-Hagan. Leading out very casually. He takes it 45 metres out, about 10 metres in from the boundary line in the right forward pocket.
It's just such a formidable forward line, isn't it? Ugle-Hagan there with the size. You then go and have a look at James O'Donnell, Norton there, and Bontempelli was the player that actually kicked it in there. Just an easy kick out into space.
One of 3 First Nations players for the Bulldogs today. He shanks this kick. It'll be across the face towards a contest off a number of hands. Eventually it spits out to O'Brien. Handball to Smith to Millerer. His kick is shocking. Overshoots the target at Murray and sliding into mark in the end is Baker for the Dogs. 35 out on the same angle as Ugle-Hagan just moments ago.
And throw Rory Lobb into that mix too, who was involved in that contest.
He'll take a good kick.
One behind in the first quarter, Oscar Baker.
Crosses the 50. Boundary line hard on his right. The drop punt is not bad off the boot, but it will just slide across the face on the halftime siren. So at the main break, the Western Bulldogs will lead by 21 points. 5-13-43 plays 3-4-22. The Adelaide Crows win the second term 2-1, but the Western Bulldogs dominating the opening term. So the goal kickers, all singles in this game so far for the Western Bulldogs. Scott, Norton, Bailey Williams, Daniel and Ryan Gardner. While for the Adelaide Crows, Gallant kicked the first goal of the game. Rochelle kicked the last, and in between, Isaac Rankin with the other goal for the Adelaide Crows.
Meanwhile, at Docklands, it's the Sydney Swans who continue to lead North Melbourne by 10 points. That's 8 minutes gone in the third quarter. Of course, if the game you're looking for is not on your radio, just download the ABC Listen app and click on the AFL Extra button, and you can find every game of the 2023 AFL season available under the ABC Listen app. The thoughts of Nathan Burke and Rod Jamieson, your experts on ABC Sport.
I'm optimistic. I don't know if the Bullies have done enough to put Adelaide away at the moment. To go on at half-time, 21 points up, 5-goal 13, 1-goal 6 in that quarter, the Western Bulldogs, 2-2 Adelaide. So, albeit they haven't kicked and it doesn't look like they're actually going to make too much of an impact on the score and they're not winning enough of the football, they're still well and truly in this game. So up against it with personnel, a couple are struggling and Hinge is already out. Sam Berry has come in. They need to find a target. They need to move it quick. the example out the other side there where Elliot Himmelberger's taken a mark. Lockie Murphy's the player that supports him on the run, but goes around the other side. He's a left footer. He had to stop, come back inside, and then just all slows down again. And it allows the Bullies to manoeuvre. They have the challenge of having numbers around the contest. So the Adelaide match committee need to have a look at that and address that, but they've just got to win it at the source. I'd almost go back and just go one-on-one and just congest it up even more, just to stop the Bulldogs from running it out of the back line or overlapping Berkey to bring it out of their back line and then get it up, and it just continually puts the Adelaide defence under pressure.
Yeah, well, the inside 50s that quarter were 11 to the Bulldogs, 10 to Adelaide. So they got it up there, but the method of each side getting it inside 50 is completely different. The Crows are just having to scrubber it forward, basically. They haven't had any clean ball movement through the middle of the ground to get a really clean forward entry, whereas the Bulldogs have looked really dangerous going inside 50. They've been able to at least get free to hit up some leads or kick the ball to a player leading. It hasn't just been a scramble ball inside 50. Unfortunately, they just haven't capitalised on it. It's 18 scoring shots to 7, so they had to kick straight. 3 of them have hit the post in that first quarter. 2 in the first quarter, and Libba missed one from 20 metres out, hit the post in that second quarter. So by the way that they're playing the game, they should be a long way ahead. But as we know in this day and age, 21 points is not that much in modern football, especially with the Crows, who do have the ability to score quickly. One of the things I want them to talk about at half-time is Fogarty and Liam Jones, that matchup. It's like Fogarty sees the ball a minute and a half after Liam Jones sees the ball, because they're standing next to each other, and sometimes Liam Jones starts behind Fogarty, the ball gets banged forward, and all of a sudden Jones has read it quickly, read it early. He comes forward, either takes the mark or spoils the contest in front of him, and Fogarty's just sort of go, oh, I need to go and get that footy. So I think if they can orchestrate a different matchup there between Liam Jones and Fogarty, that's going to actually help them. But if not, sort of let Fogarty know that, you know, we're half an hour time difference between here and Adelaide. He needs to catch up with that time distance and get himself into the play, because at the moment he's at least a step or two behind. But as we know, 21 points, it's not that much in modern day footy. The Crows get on a roll. Rankin, these sort of fellas get their hands on the footy, and Rochelle, they've only had one chance each, and they've put those chances through. They need to create some more chances for each other in their second half.
Well, they have to change around. Just looking at the uncontested, it's 123 to 72 in favour of the Bullies. They're just getting that easy footy. They win it at the contest. Looking at the clearance work overall, it's 25 to 19 in favour of Adelaide. So they are winning it at times. They're not clearing it and getting it out and maintaining possession, where once the Bullies do get hold of the football, they get it out, they clear, and then they're away. They've got that overlap and then numbers around. So I think that's certainly one of the biggest challenges for Adelaide at the moment. How are we going to actually get hold of the football and carry it, because we're just being put under so much pressure with the overlap?
Jake Saligo and Darcy Fogarty didn't touch the footy in that second quarter, and Rory Sloane just had the one disposal alongside Ben Key. So it'll be interesting to see if they look at changing it up. Does Ben Keys get an opportunity to potentially run in the midfield against Bailey Smith? With only 3 goals scored, the most exciting news was that Ian Cohen's wedding took place in Ballarat. So Jamo had so many questions, Koza. It wasn't a Crowell Castle or at Sovereign Hill, was it?
No, it wasn't. There was no medieval costumes, and I'm happy to say that the bride is still with me. So she has stuck the journey, but it was a freezing cold day in Ballarat, and today is replicating a little bit of that as well. But look, it was good fun. And the reason, Jamo, is because my good lady bride is from Horsham. I'm from Melbourne, so everyone travelled. There was no favouritism, and I think all our friends and family who were in a couple of motels had a better party than we did, because it was a big night out. But we stayed at Craig's. It was wonderful, and as I said, it's lasted the duration so far. But geez, it was cold.
That's the secret to a good marriage, meeting halfway. They did it from the very start, you see. He's from Melbourne.
A guru, Benny.
Horsham. Well, I'm not married, so I think that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, you can't hand out advice.
I wasn't. I was just saying I think that's the secret.
Is that the secret, Koza?
It's worked so far, Matt. It's worked for 28 years so far, so I'm not certainly going to upset the apple cart, but happy wife, happy life. That's all I can say. So keep her happy and away you go.
I'm originally from Melbourne. I got family in Matoa, so I know where Horsham is. The one thing with Cryer Castle is it's etched in my mind the amount of travelling we did between Adelaide and Melbourne to go back and catch up with family. I'm not suggesting you included this in your wedding or in your marriage codes, but the whipping, like it was just etched in my mind. It was terrible. I can't go back there.
Oh, on that note, it's time for us to take a break and a cheerio to Mrs. Cohen. The Bulldogs leading by 21 points. Let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. US President Joe Biden has told the G7 summit in Japan he's giving the green light to train Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets. Here's the BBC's Gary O'Donoghue.
The US decision to allow the training to go ahead unlocks many of the legal barriers standing in the way of Ukraine getting the kind of air power it says it needs. Bit by bit, Ukraine is managing to persuade its friends to supply increasingly lethal weapons. First came sophisticated air defense systems, then tanks, and now it's increasingly looking as though modern combat aircraft will be next, though probably not in time for the long-awaited offensive aimed at pushing back Russian troops.
Debt limit talks between the White House and House Republicans have been on again, off again as high-stakes negotiations proceed to avoid a potentially catastrophic U.S. federal government default. President Joe Biden's administration is seeking a deal with Republicans led by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy as the U.S. faces a deadline as early as the start of next month to raise the country's borrowing limit, now at more than $46 trillion. Supporters of expelled Victorian Liberal MP Moira Deeming have interrupted a Liberal Party conference, loudly booing opposition leader John Pasuto while holding up masks of Ms Deeming's face. The state conference is the first gathering of the Victorian Liberal Party faithful since her expulsion from the parliamentary team earlier this month. Mr Pasuto says his focus is on strengthening the party ahead of the next state election.
I was very moved by the two standing ovations that occurred during my speech at the start and at the end. If there were people who had different views, that's a matter for them, but what I saw was a strong endorsement of my commitment to reforming the party, making sure that we're an effective opposition.
Police in Queensland are investigating the deaths of two people inside a caravan that caught fire on Brisbane's western outskirts in the early hours of this morning. Scout Wallen reports.
At about 4:30 this morning, authorities were alerted to a fire on a semi-rural property at Upper Brookfield. They arrived to find a caravan engulfed in flames. It was destroyed by the blaze. The bodies of a man and a woman were later found inside the van. Police believe the pair were staying in the area to attend the Brookfield show, and that a number of people were staying at the property overnight. A man was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries that police say are consistent with him either trying to escape or alert other people to the fire.
New South Wales Chief Health Officer Dr Kerry Chant says people should stay at home if they feel sick, with an uptick in COVID cases in the community. In the latest weekly report, 61 people have died from COVID-19 in New South Wales. Dr Chant says there are several respiratory illnesses around, including COVID and influenza.
It's important that people stay at home if they have any symptoms of viral illnesses, respiratory tract infections, that cough, fever. Don't spread your germs around.
Two health unions are speaking out about gaps they see in Victoria's plans to deal with people who are drunk in public after it's abolished as a crime in November. Mary Gearin reports.
The Victorian Ambulance Union and the Health and Community Services Union are in favour of the reforms to treat intoxication with a health response, not a punitive one. But HACSU Secretary Paul Healy says cells need to be made safer for intoxicated people who've committed a crime.
I felt that the government's left that behind.
Ambulance Union Secretary Danny Hill says paramedics need more clarity and protections around walking away from a drunk person refusing to go to a health service.
It's a really complex situation for paramedics to have to deal with.
The reforms kick in on Melbourne Cup Day.
A man's died in North Queensland after being hit by a truck this morning. Police responded to the incident on the Bruce Highway at Clairview, north of Rockhampton, at 6:45. The 40-year-old suffered serious injuries and died at the scene. Police are investigating and encourage anyone with relevant dashcam footage to come forward. St John's Ambulance WA says it's actively increasing resources to support the transfer of 30 to 40 patients from Peel Health Campus to alternative facilities. Follows the discovery of mould in the private hospital's air conditioning system. Sporting giant Adidas says it will start selling some of the shoes designed during its partnership with Kanye West at the end of May. Adidas cut ties with West, who goes by Ye, after he made a string of anti-Semitic comments. That left the German sportswear maker with around $2 billion worth of shoes to sell. Adidas says it will donate some of the profits to organisations fighting racism. You're up to date with the very latest from ABC News.
Mr. Dulac, how long have you been dead?
2 immortal classics from Anne Rice.
I offer my life story.
The newsreaders Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson from Game of Thrones in The Interview with the Vampire.
I can swap this life of shame, swap it out for a dark gift.
And Alexandra Daddario from White Lotus in Mayfair Witches.
You don't know what I'm capable of.
Stream all the episodes now on ABC iView.
This is the Sir Doug Nicholls Round.
On your radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app.
Himmelberg bringing it down, and a free kick. It's going to go the way of the Crows. It'll go to Rankin. One of 2 Indigenous players out there for the Adelaide Crows today. He's got sublime skills, and he shows us them here. Will that ignite the Crows in Ballarat?
Norton punches it forward. Scott, clean pickup, dodging and weaving. Hand pass to Daniel, jams it onto his boot, working back towards the goal mouth, and he gets it there. Michael Annie trying to get a touch onto it, but it was over the line. Himmelberg inside the forward 50, centres it towards he and Rankin. Up goes Gardner, spoils it down. Rankin the crummer, hand pass to Rochelle, swings onto his left, over his shoulder, got it. Adelaide with 2 of the last 3 goals of the match.
The 2023 Sir Doug Nicholls Round.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Saturday afternoon footy, and it's the Western Bulldogs who lead the Adelaide Crows by 21 points, 5-13-43 to Adelaide 3-4-22. The Bulldogs' lead could be greater. They got it out to 25 points on a couple of occasions. But the Adelaide Crows, with 2 goals to 1 in that second quarter, closed the gap to 21 points at the main break. Matt Clinch and Ben Cameron calling all the action. Ian Cohen is down on the boundary. Nathan Burke and Rod Jamison are your experts. After this match, our next stop on ABC Sport is Perth, where the Fremantle Dockers are taking on Geelong. And then tonight, depending on where you're listening to, there's Dreamtime at the G between Essendon and Richmond, and the Q-Cash between the Brisbane Lions and the Gold Coast Suns. Don't forget, of course, if the match you're looking for isn't on your radio, download the ABC Listen app and just click on the AFL Extra button, because every match of the AFL season is covered courtesy of the ABC Sport team. Approaching 3-quarter time at Docklands, it's Sydney leading by 15 points over North Melbourne, 10-7-67 to the Roos 8-4-52, but the Kangaroos just finding a bit of life with Lance Franklin booting 3 goals, Peter Laddams with 2, Jai Simpkin, the North Melbourne captain, with a couple, as they try and come up with a historic win, given the fact that Alistair Clarkson has had to step aside for personal reasons from North Melbourne, and Brett Ratton is back in the coaching chair this afternoon for the Kangaroos. Meanwhile, in the National Rugby League taking place this afternoon, there's a couple of games to bring you up to speed with, as the early match on Thursday night was won by Penrith over the Broncos. Yesterday it was St George over the Roosters, and the Parramatta Eels too strong for South Sydney. In the early match taking place today, it's the Cronulla Sharks leading the Newcastle Knights 10 points to 6, 26 minutes gone in that match. In the twilight, it's the West Tigers taking on North Queensland, and tonight the Dolphins take on the Melbourne Storm. Don't forget, coverage of the NRL season is also available under the ABC Listen app. Just click on the ABC Sport button.
Some of the big news today, which we spoke about very quickly at quarter time, was reported by Chris Rowbottom, a part of our team on ABC Sport, that the Macquarie Point Stadium down in Tasmania that is a requirement of the 19th licence in the AFL must now be passed through upper house in Tasmanian Parliament. Now, that in Tasmania is made up of 4 Labor, 4 Liberal and 7 independent ministers. If all of the Labor ministers vote no, which is what is expected given they're against it, the government will need 4 of the 7 independents to vote yes, assuming all of the Liberal Party members vote yes. So obviously they'll need more than half of the independents to vote in favour. If that fails, the stadium will be rejected and Tasmania's AFL team will be dead in the water. So from the celebrations of a couple of weeks ago about the 19th licence being granted and a stadium to come as a part of that, here we are, and it looks like we're possibly further away than we thought of having a team in Tasmania.
We remember, Jamo and Adelaide, how exciting it was when footy moved from West Lakes to the Adelaide Oval, how much that rejuvenated the city and allowed everyone to come in from the country, make their way into the heart of the city via public transport. It must be said the same sentiment hasn't been shared in Tassie. The politics is slightly different there as opposed to South Australia, but it does feel like it would be an enormous backflip if the team didn't proceed based on the fact that the stadium won't be built.
I recall the late, great Drew Morford when he would... Even when Docklands was built, I just remember him coming over to one of the games and just going, what the heck are we building that for? And then when they built it, what happened in between both the MCG and Docklands? And to your point, Clinchy, as well, like when I went from Football Park to Adelaide Oval, and there's so much that can be done there and what it's done for the city, businesses, but the amount of money and the investment, yes, I acknowledge, and I think we all do, that there's other areas that could benefit from money through living or health or whatever the case may be, but building something like that, getting football there, getting, I guess, the trades, and it just will generate and bring so much to Tasmania. And to think that a couple of people in the minority group potentially could hold this up and the licence then just disappear because the stadium's not going to happen,
And the other part for the Adelaide Oval is it wasn't just a footy oval. So in the initial stages, the deal with the South Australian government was there were major events. So there was boxing with
Mundine and
Green. There was football with Liverpool coming out to play Adelaide United. There was rock concerts. I think Andrew went to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, right, yep.
But major events, not just AFL matches, which is probably maybe the concern from people outside of Tasmania is that the understanding that this will bring so many major events that don't currently take place in Tasmania.
I think what we don't see too a lot of the time is the politics, and you almost don't want to, but I recall with Adelaide Oval, like the SACA, the South Australian Cricket Association, had an enormous debt over that time, and to the credit of Andrew Demetrio at the time, the CEO, he said to the SANFL and the SACA and the AFL, get together and sort this out. That debt got wiped. It was hugely significant. And there was this reluctance to actually come together, cricket and football. And when that happened, it was so beneficial to all parties. And then have a look at Adelaide Oval and what it's done. So to think that the opportunity down in Tasmania might not get off the ground because of politics in the stadium would be bitterly disappointing for everyone down there. And it's the youth, it's the football generation of younger players, both girls and boys coming through, that Tasmania needs.
It's an AFL men's and women's competition. It's a high-performance centre. There's the housing that would take place around Macquarie Point and the developments that would take place in that area. So it's an interesting one. Chris Rowbottom reporting on Twitter as part of our ABC Sport team. Bulldogs leading by 21 points over the Adelaide Crows into the second half with Ben Cameron.
Razor Ray puts it aloft. English swats it down, but Berry onto it for the Crows. He'll snap across the body towards half forward. Dale can't take the mark. Now a loose footy. O'Brien just soccers it on towards half forward. Gallant coming out, tackled quickly. Taken to ground by Gardner, and a ball up to come at left half forward. Umpire underhands it into the air. O'Brien knocks it on. Gathering it though, Johannisen snaps around the corner. Going up, Jones can't take the mark. Loose footy. There is Chase Jones for the Crows. Handball away to Saligo. Handball around the boundary. And Johannisen carrying it out. A throw in at left half forward. So 5:13.43, the Bulldogs, they lead the Crows 3-4-22, less than a minute into the second half.
And the Bulldogs persevering. They've pushed a player up around the football again. Wayne Miller, the player behind the play this time on his own.
Thrown back in. It's Caleb Daniel for the Dogs, who once more kicks up towards the wing. Scott gathers, almost brought down by Keys. Gets the hand pass to McRae, and they're on the break here. Waitman marks it right half forward. Driving kick to Ugelhagen against two. He and Murray collide. He's dragged down. Umpire says it's all okay as Miller takes the mark. Sends it out to Rochelle, who takes the mark at right half back. Looks up around the wing towards Fogarty. He and Liam Jones in a tangle. It clears the two and bounces out in front of Fogarty and DeRay for a boundary throw-in.
It's the closing speed of Liam Jones too, isn't it, on Foggy? If it's not lace out, he likes to get into a contest. He's big and strong. Liam Jones has got the height on him, though.
How can they get Darcy Fogarty more in the game?
Yeah, well, they've just got to find a way to deliver and execute. Adelaide haven't been able to do that around the ground, particularly when they've gone inside 50. And that occasion, you got Fogarty on a lead. He's just got to sit under the footy.
O'Brien palmed it straight down to Scott. Another stoppage, balled up this time. As O'Brien reaches up, wins down the tap, but Laird lays the tackle on Caleb Daniel. Just short of right half forward for the Crows. Bulldogs by 21 points.
The red Sharon, with your lower written on it, for the first time in 140 years, he's put in the air and knocked down into the hands of Bontempelli. Quickly tackled and will go again.
Bailey Dale one side, Chase Jones the other.
Umpire puts it up, knocking it down O'Brien. And off hands, there's going to be a free kick here. It'll go to Laird, or O'Brien in the end, who will give it to Laird running around the back. He'll kick long towards the forward pocket, over the head of the pack, bouncing ball at the back, whistle on the play, and a free kick is going to go to Gallant. So Gallant will get the free kick. Right forward pocket, 20 metres out, slight angle to the right-hand side.
Sure, Berkey, what that was for. Gardner maybe into Gallant, or kept him out of the play?
The umpire signalled like a high, so the ball wasn't actually touched on the way down. It actually hit the ground, but whether the swinging arm of the Bulldogs defender just got the Gallant a little bit high, pushed him under the ball. Certainly wasn't a lot in it.
Kicked the first goal of the game at this end of the ground, runs in and tugs it hard left. A bad miss and a let off for the Western Bulldogs. 20 points neat is the advantage the way of the Dogs.
As it's brought back into play, Dale finds English. She's turned it over. Scholl takes intercepting mark in front of Norton. So a chance for Adelaide to reload inside 50. Works it over the top by foot and finds Sam Berry. He can go very short to Laird. Barely 15. He's paid the mark. Much to the Bulldogs fans' disappointment. Down to our right here. Laird long kick inside 50. O'Brien's gone forward. Murphy's a crummer. Bontempelli lays the tackle. Hand pass to Keys. Gets the hand pass to Scholl. In the right forward pocket, he's dragged down by McRae. And the umpire will ball it up just in the right forward pocket, with McRae getting good support from DeRay. Adelaide deep in attack, trailing by 20.
Riley O'Brien knocks it down to Berry. Handball away. Scholl. Handball back to Chase Jones. He'll set it up towards the hot spot, trying to find Fogarty down there. Crushing through his Gardner, crushing into his own man there in Liam Jones, and out of play, a throw in left forward pocket. Here for the Adelaide Crows. Can they get the first goal of the second half?
Just a long kick to the contested area or congested area. Adelaide need to lower their eyes.
Riley O'Brien shoves English out of the way, and the umpire wants to throw it in again. It was a short throw in from the boundary umpire, so take two.
Don't see that very often. It wasn't that short. It was probably...
The ruck starting a long way back. They run in on this occasion. Riley O'Brien knocks it to the back. Laird. Handball away to Rochelle, and then swooping on it, Bailey Williams, who gives it off there to McRae. Kick to the wing.
Where the mark is almost juggled for the Adelaide Crows by Murray, who has to try and tackle Artie Jones on an easy task to do. Hand passes out in front of Bontempelli on the wing. He slips over. Chase Jones comes racing in. Hand pass to Laird. Over the top to Dawson. The Crows captain up to 50, and Fogarty takes the mark. You can imagine he's too far out to score. As he looks at Riley O'Brien, who's headed to the goal square, sends it in that direction, getting back English, planted himself in front and takes the mark for the Western Bulldogs. 15 metres out from his defensive goal. There's the Aboriginal flag in the goal square at that end, at the southern end, and the Tiwi Islands at the northern end. Short to Bailey Dale and then to Caleb Daniel.
Sorry, mate. I wouldn't have minded if Fogarty had a shot then. Get himself into the game. They're having repeat entries. They need to get a goal from it, and he's the man to stand up and do it.
Yeah. Dogs with it. At left half back, Liberatore, dangerous short kick to Bailey Dale. Bailey Dale will bite off the kick into the middle, onto the chest of English. Feeds the handball to the runner McRae. He'll kick towards half forward. Mark taken out there by Tim O'Brien. Dogs with it, just forward of the wing. O'Brien will go into the pocket in the lob direction, but spills to the back. Scott runs into an open goal. Western Bulldogs work it from full back to full forward. Scott on the end of it to kick his second. The Dogs with the first of the second half. 6:13:49, plays 3:5:23, 7 minutes into the third term.
Brave enough to do it. Was it Bailey Dale? Actually, with that kick into the middle, wasn't it too? Just that real low, hard kick. Hit English in the middle there, and then the numbers and the space just opened up. And even that kick in deep into the forward line for the Western Bulldogs. It was Chase Jones on Rory Lobb initially in the contest, and just the defender's nightmare straight over the backboard.
Yeah, Scott, he's not a big ball winner, so he's not going to have 22 and kick 2. He's only had the 2 kicks, 5 handballs, but he's got himself 2 goals. And as a small forward, at the end of the day, that's much more important than having 20 and no goals.
English wins down the tap, back in the middle of the ground. It's Sam Berry who gets the clearance of the Crows, out to the wing, towards Scholl and Baker. Baker spoils it down. Bailey Smith with the hand pass to Richards. Centre wing sends it up towards the lob, and Michael Annie, it clears them over the head of Jamara Ugelhagen. Getting back as Parnell. Hand pass to Dawson, back to Parnell. 15 metres out from his defensive goal. Switching kick out to Pedler. Has to make it work. Johannesson gave him a shove. Ball spills to the back. Bailey Williams dodging and weaving away from Saligo. Hand pass to Dale down low, and Murphy tackles him over the boundary line. Where the boundary line and the 50-metre up meet. Half forward for the Dogs, who lead by a game-high 26 points. 8 minutes gone. Third term on ABC Sport. Ball tossed back into play. English and Himmelberg. It's tapped down to the front. Bontempelli, little toe poke out in front of O'Donnell. They can't get a disposal away. English charges in once more. Tackle by Himmelberg. And Murphy, it takes 3 to stop him, including Rory Sloan.
It's better Lockie Murphy too. He hasn't had much of an impact in the first half, but his defensive work and another strong tackle.
Dogs by 26, a game high. Dale gathers on the attacking edge of the square, off to Richards on the fly. He misses to the right. Ian Cohen downstairs.
Yeah, just an injury update. You can see just in front of that point post where it was just kicked. So Johannesson is coming off with what looks to be a nasty leg injury. He was holding it up high, and he's now being helped by the trainers from the field.
Thanks, Koza. The Crows through Parnell and Smith find Murray in the back pocket. He looks up towards the wing. On the hill side of the ground, in from the side, O'Brien couldn't complete the mark. Sloan front and centre, couldn't get his hand pass to Saligo. Bailey Williams in there for the Dogs, trying to knock it clear. Rankin slides in, close to the boundary line, but stays in. Daniel becomes the tackle up. The ball is locked up on the outer side of the ground, with Lockie Gallant on the very bottom. Ian Cohen.
Yeah, Jason Johannesson has just walked straight off the boundary, so he is done and dusted for the day. The sub will be activated, and that's going to be Lockie McNeil.
So the Crows made their sub in the opening quarter. Mitch Hinge out with concussion, meaning that Sam Berry came into the action, and the Western Bulldogs about to activate Lockie McNeil. As Koza told you, English can't break away from the stoppage. There's a lot of players around the contest. Sam Berry and Himmelberg lock him up. Outer side of the ground, Bulldogs by 27.
Loose footy, English gathers on the bounce, snaps around the corner, lob will come at the footy, hands to it, then gathers at ground level on the follow-up. spins in a tackle. Handball to Bontempelli. Dale leaves it behind, allows the Crows in. Dawson's handball to Michael Annie. He fumbles, which allows and invites the tackle. Eventually he gets it away, holding the ball. And the Dogs with it through Bailey Dale. Attacking edge of the square. Low ball into the pocket, looking for Ugelhagen. One hand to it. Saligo off hands, throws it on the boot and turns it over. Mark taken by Bailey Williams, 49 out.
If you're going to do a hammy, Ballarat's probably the place you're going to do it, isn't it?
It looked like it. He had the left hand sort of holding the hip, which is just sort of nursing that left leg, and straight down the rooms. No, not through the interchange.
Bailey Williams can give it a roost. He does so here, but starts it narrow. Can't bring it back. So another behind for the Western Bulldogs. 6:15.51, placed 3-5-23. 28 points, the Dogs' advantage. We've played 11 and a half in the third.
Oh, Jones, risky kick in, looking for Murray, lob in from the side. Ball hits the deck and Murray takes it across the boundary line with a bit of a shove from Aaron Norton, who just gives him a bit of a gesture to the back that it wasn't intentional. It's just the awkward bit there where the synthetic turf takes over, just over the boundary line, but no damage done in front of the wire fencing.
Both sides have really struggled to kick goals at the City end, haven't they?
Adelaide trailing by 28 points as it's thrown back into play. Himmelberg and English, it clears to the back. Waitman's hand pass to Dale on the run from 50. It's out to the right and bounces in front of Brodie Smith. And across the boundary line up against the right behind post. The Dogs have it locked inside their forward 50 for the moment. 6 inside 50s to 4 in this third term, which is now 12 minutes old.
Boundary throw in, right forward pocket here for the Dogs. Norton shoves Riley O'Brien out of the way. Can't take it cleanly though. Butts coming through. He's tackled to ground. And a ball up. 28 points. The Dogs lead. Ball up, right forward pocket. Riley O'Brien knocks it towards the boundary. Going after it, McRae, Ugelhagen there too. Ball still live. Dawson trying to pick it up. Eventually Murray does. Handball away towards a teammate in Berry. His kick run onto there by Bailey Dale. Loose ball in the goal square. Daniel clean. Off to Lob. Snaps the goal. No surprise. Caleb Daniel clean around the bootlaces. Swooping in to pick it up. Handball to Lob, who does the rest. And the Western Bulldogs are in control of this match. They're out by 34 points, a game-high margin, 7-15-57, plays 3-5-23, 13 and a half into this third term.
Well, that little sound effect by me of the was completely involuntary, because it was just a case of Caleb Daniel. The ball was loose in the goal square, and for all intents and purposes, I expected him to run in and just try and kick it off the ground, but there was plays between him, but he just picked the ball up at full speed with no fumble whatsoever and handballed the ball to Rory Lobb, and just a sublime piece of small man play there, picking the ball up at full speed.
Nathan Burke with you on ABC Sport at Docklands as the Swans leading North Melbourne by 9 points at three-quarter time. Bontempelli taps it to his own advantage on the wing, just gets a kick inside 50, sliding forwards, Butts. As he takes the mark, Pedler off a good chase to Bontempelli, who was almost getting within scoring range. Jordan Butts works it to the pocket. Parnell's kick, partially smothered by Daniel, knocks it out to Bailey Smith, hand pass over his head. Norton taps it on to Baker in the right forward pocket, eyes the goals and misses everything. The boundary umpire and the goal umpire are just going to convene to try and make sure which side of the boundary post it went. That gives us time to head down to Ian Cohen.
Sub officially activated. Lockie McNeil is out on the ground for the Western Bulldogs. Jason Johannesson straight to the rooms. As Berkey said, looks like a left hamstring there. So McNeil on for game number 5 for this season.
You know you haven't laced your kick if Caleb Daniel is smothering, haven't you? Gee.
Max Michael Annie has had Rory Lobb for this whole quarter. And one of the things the Western Bulldogs haven't done is they haven't realised that and gone, okay, he's a foot and a half taller than him. Let's isolate the two of them down close to the goals. Rory Lobb's still trotting around. He's off the ground now, and Michael Annie has come off with him. But he's up high around the middle of the ground, and you've got to recognise when you've got a mismatch and take advantage of it. Rory Lobbs just had the 2 kicks so far in this game. Kicked that last goal, but it wasn't through a tall man play. They need to find a way to get him into the game.
It was out on the full in the end, so the Bulldogs by 34 points, and they'll get it back on the wing. There's the intercept mark taken by English. So just forward of the wing, English. He'll kick inside, attacking 50 in the Norton direction. Big fly coming from behind, and Murray knocking it down. Eventually Smith will get it on his left boot, kick back to the wing. English again has a lot of it, doesn't quite complete the mark, goes after it at ground level. And a ball up between wing and half forward for the Dogs. 34 points to the good, 16 played third term.
Tim English is getting himself in the right spots, isn't he, too? Just his kicking has let him down today on a couple of occasions.
Dogs with 2 goals to none in this third term. Oscar Baker squeezed the kick inside 50. It's wide of Ugle-Hagan, who's appealing it came off Murray's boot, but the umpire says throw it in. Right forward pocket for the Western Bulldogs. Aaron Norton is going to compete in the ruck against Riley O'Brien once more. Toss back into play. O'Brien nudges him underneath, punches it boundary side towards Jones. Ugle-Hagan coming through, couldn't get a disposal away. Norton on all fours. Hand pass spilled through the hands of Scott. Hand pass to McNeil, to Jamara. Snaps it onto his right, and Ugle-Hagan misses to the left-hand side. Ended up with more time than what he intended. Went to his left, then to his right. Just missing to the left-hand side. 35 points, the Western Bulldogs lead. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Jason Johannesson's come back out of the rooms. He's got ice on that hamstring, but of more concern, Marcus Bontempelli has just had his left knee worked on, running it right through the riggers. He's sitting on the bench at the moment, shaking his head, but he's had a long time off the ground.
11 Bulldogs have kicked behinds today, and you've got 6 players have kicked goals. Incredible.
Even I can do that. Maths, Jamo. It's nearly double from the throw-in. Knocked back boundary side, and over in the end, another throw-in on that southern wing.
Is there any reason for that Kozer at ground level? It's not like we've got a swirling breeze or anything.
Still.
No, the actual fact conditions, apart from being very cold, are actually very, very still, so they can't blame it on that. And the ground condition is fantastic. It's been a carpet all day. It's absorbed the water, so no complaints there either.
Ball can't clear the congestion, so another ball up on the southern wing. Umpire puts it up. English swatting it down. Pedler able to get the clearing kick for the Crows. Forward of the wing. Big collision on the wing. Ball spits out after all of that to Daniel. Handball to Baker. Away to Bailey Smith. Kicks the Dogs towards half forward. Bouncing ball. Mopped up there by Millera. His kick charged down by Jones. Slaps it on into the path of Ugle-Hagan. He has a fit of the fumbles. Can't pick it up, but he'll get a high free kick. Murray just clipping Jamara Ugle-Hagan high. And he will get the set shot. Mark set 35 out. 5 metres in from the boundary line. Right forward pocket. Right side for the left footer.
Archie Jones, too, just intercept. Kept the footy alive for the Bulldogs in their 50.
Jamara Ugle-Hagan on his left leg. It's out to the left, right to the line, and Murray punches it through to ensure there's no danger of a major or minor score. And 35 points, a new game high lead for the Dogs.
Wayne Millera plays on, almost got himself into a bind. Long kick to the middle of the ground, flying high. Liam Jones in front of Elliot Himmelberg. It spills out to the wing. Rankin kept his feet as DeRay slipped over, but Bailey Williams works his way onto the ball. Hand pass to Lobb, feeds it to O'Donnell. Tough hand pass for DeRay, charging through Sloan, and then Rankin got DeRay high, and then Liberatore comes charge again. Rankin lays the bump. And Taylor with DeRay will take the free kick between wing and half forward for the Western Bulldogs.
I think it's been reported.
I was going to say, was it all right? It looked all right in real time, though.
Yeah, I thought DeRay sort of played it up just a tad, but the umpire has reported him for front-on contact.
And Isaac's letting him know about it again.
As DeRay kicks inside 50, Ugle-Hagan flies in front. O'Brien's there as well, and the footy's locked up in the hands of Brodie Smith, so it hasn't been a great day for the Crows. Isaac Rankin on report makes it even worse.
Swatting it away, Riley O'Brien onto it, McRae, free kick. From the stoppage, it's going to go to McRae. He was being held, so he'll get the free kick. The mark 45 metres out, 45-degree angle to the left.
Well, at 7:17, there's a fair chance we might be 7:18 after this one. 45, 50 metres out on a 45-degree angle. They haven't been going through today. I think Rankin put one through, but he's a special talent in that area.
It would be his 50th goal in AFL footy for Jack McRae. Arcs out slightly to the left and shows them how it's done. A little pinch of class from Jack McRae. And finally, the Bulldogs find the major opening. As I said, his 50th goal in AFL footy, and the lead swells to 42 points. 8:17.65, plays 3:5.23, 21 minutes into the third.
See what I did there? It's called the reverse Moz.
Unfortunately, it falls into Jano's category of 7 goals to that end and 2 to the other, doesn't it?
Yes, it's certainly the scoring end.
Which gives Adelaide fans hope, but might be 10 goals at the margin at which it's going.
Going to need that breeze in the last quarter, Clinchy, too. Just to change it. I saw the Cockalichi kid out the back, too, as well.
Did you just?
John Fitzgerald.
Really? There you go.
Yeah, he came with Jared Healy today.
Great South Australian.
Jordan Dawson gets the clearance.
Australian tennis player.
Yes, for the Adelaide Crows. Sends it out to Rochelle at half forward. Long kick inside 50. Himmelberg the target. Jones, that's Liam Jones, spoils it down. Lunging onto it, Gallant. Rankin trying to duck out of a tackle. He's going to be penalised holding the ball. As Liberatore wrapped him up with good support from Bailey Williams. And Isaac Rankin just trying to create something in the left forward pocket. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, well, Taylor Dury's getting plenty of advice. He's getting advice from Isaac Rankin as to what he thought of the play, but he's also getting lots of advice from the Bulldogs medical staff that have been attending him. He's complaining a little bit of some neck soreness.
Thanks, Koza. Dale's kick up towards half-back is spoiled out of play. A throw in on the hillside, the eastern side here at Eureka Stadium in Ballarat, where the Bulldogs lead by 42 points, 22 minutes gone, third term.
I want to talk a little bit of South Australian tennis in a moment. From the throw-in, not coming out of there, we'll get another ball up. Did a feature on the little-known Peter Carter, who went on to coach Roger Federer in his early years from South Australia, and the lineage of tennis players out of South Australia and tennis coaches is remarkable. From Peter Smith down, give him a cheerio if he's listening, I'm sure he is. As in the middle, the Bulldogs back with the footy. Bailey Smith kicks it into the back of Rochelle. Ricochets back to him, picks it up, retreats with the handball to McRae, kicks laterally, and O'Brien's able to mark. Defensive point of the square for the Dogs. Long kick towards half forward. Coming in from the side, a good defensive mark by the Crows captain Dawson. He'll have it at right half back. Dogs by 42 points. 23 minutes played in the third.
Yeah, still the tennis coach at the academy next to the Adelaide Oval, Peter Smith, when I was there. Long kick up the wing. Himmelberg underneath it. Running onto a Rankin at right half forward. Takes a bounce. Gets inside 50. The moment requires something special. It's across the face. And it's going to roll out in front of Fogarty, who races after it. Tries to tap it back into the field of play. But it rolls across the boundary line, and a shot on the electronic scoreboard of Matthew Nix with his hands on his head.
Well, from last week to this week, it's 180. It really is in terms of just thought process, execution and delivery. Really poor. I think Isaac got himself in the middle. He should have had a shot on goal. He put it out in front of Fogarty, and then here are the Western Bulldogs taking it away.
Would have almost backed him to run into the goal mouth and see if anyone can catch him. Libba's hand pass looking for Richards, rolls out of the boundary and across and out of play. Right half, left half forward for the Adelaide Crows. Bulldogs by 42.
Well within his rights, Berkey, too, to have a shot.
Absolutely.
Umpire brings it back in. Both rucks miss it. Spills to McRae at the back. A spiral around the southern wing. No one there to mark it. It bounces end over end. Picked up eventually by Murray. Gang tackled by Waitman and Norton. And they take him to ground. And the umpire to come in and put it aloft. Red Sharon, we don't see much of the red footy anymore, do we?
No.
The red Yalloa, I should say, here in Sir Doug Nichols' round. Eventually knocked down by Riley O'Brien to Murphy. His kick off the side of the boot, it tumbles out. Another throw in on the southern wing. So the Bulldogs by 42 points. 25 minutes played in the third term on Grandstand AFL. Still to come tonight, of course, Dreamtime at the G, the game that started it all in Sir Doug Nichols' round.
tackles, 57-45 in favour of the Bullies. They just feel like they're really sticking them. Adelaide had a chance, or we're doing it a bit more in the second quarter, but the Bulldogs now pressure.
Free kick going the way of Tim English, and the Crows had to be careful because Pedlar's kick didn't exactly return the footy to him. I think one of our owners heading to the MCG, Nathan Burke. You excited about seeing Dreamtime at the G, your second game of footy for a Saturday?
I am. Probably a tad more excited than the one I'm seeing tomorrow, which is West Coast and Hawthorn.
Might race you back to Melbourne, actually. I've got to catch a plane.
Hardest working member of our ABC sport team as Bailey Smith sends it up towards half forward, clears O'Brien, and Waitman takes the mark. He drives the Bulldogs inside 50, lob up in front, spoiled it down. Artie Jones, the crummer, he misses to the right-hand side. It was almost time to let the party begin. That would have set Bulldogs fans alight. He missed to the right-hand side, and the Dogs lead by 44 points.
Had a massive nearly day, Arthur Jones, as the long kick from Parnell out towards the wing. Spoiled down by Liam Jones for the Dogs. Onto a Liberatore. Forward-feeding handball away to Bontempelli. To Anthony Scott. This would be his third. And he just misses to the left-hand side. It just grazed the post, in fact, on the way through. Not to be.
Would have been two weeks in a row, 3 goals to Anthony Scott.
The 12th Western Bulldog, the kicker behind Ben.
And 44 points their lead.
You sound surprised, Clinchy.
Big fly from Gardner. Put his hands on the shoulders of Jordan Dawson and pulls in the mark. What a game Ryan Gardner's having. Kicked the 3rd goal of his career, and now he's taking a hanger in front of the bench. He veers out to the right, sends the Dogs inside 50. Norton from behind, landing awkwardly was O'Brien. Onto it English, brought down, great tackle by Michael Annie. It spills the way of Millerer. He doesn't deal with it, so now Bontempelli's onto it. Hand pass almost chopped off by Brodie Smith. Sockers it Dawson's way. Fends off the tackler. Hand pass to Berry. High kick up the wing. Pedlar up to fly. Gardner underneath. Can't take the mark. Rochelle just sockers it forward to half forward. Rankin races after it. He gathers it right half forward. He toe pokes it to his own advantage once more. Then in a tangle with Dale. He's still fighting for it, Rankin, but now he's outmanoeuvred, and DeRay over the top. It spills the way of Pedlar. He's locked up. Good tackle laid by Scott. And the umpire will ball it up at half forward for the Adelaide Crows.
I don't think he's really right, Isaac Rankin. He was a little worried early in the game with his right lower leg, and his speed, he should blitz that.
I've got some breaking news for you, Jamo. The Kangaroos lead by 10 points. 12 minutes gone, final term against the Sydney Swans. Brett Ratton, the interim coach, in the absence of Alistair Clarkson. The Roos 14-5-89. The Swans 12-7-79.
I don't think anyone would have tipped them, would they?
4-1, North Sway in his final term. I don't think so, John.
No. The bottom is falling out of the Sydney Swans just quietly too.
You sound surprised, Clinchy, too, that Burke is the hardest working ABC worker,
I'm not.
too, by the way.
No, not surprised at all.
I thought you were.
Looking back at his playing career, unsurprising.
Dower.
McRae with it again.
Some are tougher than others, Gemma, that's all.
That left half back. What are you looking at me for, Clinchy? Jamari Ugle-Hagan picks it up, drives it long inside 50, coming across. Saligo fists it into the air. And eventually takes the mark off the rebound spoil. He marks in the right back pocket. He'll kick long towards the wing for the Crows. Going up English, so to Gollant. Spoilt down towards Waitman. Kicks inside 50. Ugle-Hagan gathers off hands. Handball away to Liberatore. His left foot kick ricochets away. Here's Artie Jones again. He's tackled by a couple of Crows. And the umpire to come in and ball it up. Left forward pocket. A lead by 44, the Western Bulldogs. Closing in on three-quarter time in Ballarat.
Thrown up, Lob doing the ruck work against O'Brien. Spills down. There's nowhere for Max Michaelani to go as Liberatore lays the tackle. And the umpire wastes no time throwing in the air once more. Spills down the way of Brodie Smith. He and Jack McRae both have a half of the ball. The umpire will ball it up.
It's been indicative at Adelaide all day. Just kick it down the line, 2-on-1, hits the ground. Western Bulldogs are there, and it just goes straight back into their forward 50.
Parnell with a searching kick to half-back through the hands of Rochelle. DeRay for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Williams. Hand pass to McRae. To Bailey Smith. Two Crows corral him back to McRae. He's locked up by Rankin and Brodie Smith. The umpire will ball it up. 3 goals to Lance Franklin, 2 to Larkey, 2 to Sheasel, 2 to Coleman Jones in North Melbourne's 10-point lead over the Sydney Swans. 14 gone, final term.
From the ball up, trying to emerge with it, Murphy. Eventually, Liberatore, handball away to Bailey Smith. His kick ricochets inside 50 for the Dogs. Fends off one tackle. Handball back to Liberatore. Loops a handball onto Waitman, who was taken high. And Waitman to get a free kick. Deep in the left forward pocket, 30 metres out.
The shape around the contest of the Western Bulldogs is outstanding. They have players who go in and get the footy, and they're really, really hard at it, but they've always got one just on the outside and then another one just on the outside, and that's how they get the ball forward. You look at the Crows, when they do win that contested footy, there's really no one in a support position that they can release the ball to, and the only option they've got is to bang the ball down the ground, which plays into their hands.
He was goalless last week, Cody Waitman, but that's a finish of pure class. He bends it home on the snap from 40 out. His first of the afternoon. And it's getting a little ugly for the Adelaide Crows here. The Bulldogs out by a neat 50. 9-19-73. Plays 3-5-23. It could be worse had the Bulldogs had their kicking boots on.
Just to add to that, just Rory Laird has come to the bench just through interchange, but he and Brodie Smith were exchanging words and they were quite animated. They are good mates, but I certainly think it's the way that, to extend on what Berkey's saying, and we've been talking about it for the majority of the game, just that congested area, just set up around the football. The Bulldogs have got the numbers there. It's been too easy.
All of a sudden it's 4 goals to none. 4 goals to 1 behind. The Bulldogs way in this final term. Dawson, the Adelaide Crows captain, tries to get him going. A hand pass to half forward. Baker for the Dogs, picks it up. Hand pass to Bontempelli. He shins it to half back. Rankin's onto it for the Crows. Hand pass to Rochelle. Swings it onto the right and steers it through. Josh Rochelle with his second. And Adelaide break the Bulldogs' run of 5 unanswered goals in this third quarter and cut the margin back to 44 points ahead of three-quarter time. The Dogs 9-19-73 to Adelaide 4-5-29. 32 minutes gone, third term.
Took them 13 and a half minutes in the second quarter to get a goal. They ended up with 2-2 late in this third for their Lockie Gallant's the only other one. It was in the first quarter.
The bot just took that extra split second too long, and a bit of a push from behind made the kick go askew, and well capitalised there by the Crows. But that's what they need. They need to put more pressure on the Bulldogs' ball carrier.
Off the back of a centre clearance.
So Rochelle's kicked their last 2 goals and 2 of their 4 today for the Adelaide Crows as Saligo somehow knocks out a handball away to Murphy. Kicks inside attacking 50. No mark taken by Gardner. Loose footy. Pedler attacks it hard. Handball away to Jones. He can't quite gather it first. Eventually does. Picks it up. Steadies, fires and misses. To the left-hand side. Behind for the Crows. It's back to 43 points the way of the Bulldogs, and got a little gloomy here at Ballarat. Eureka Stadium. Been gloomy for a while for your Crows, Jampo.
About 2.5 quarters.
Ben Cameron, Rod Jamison, Matt Lynch, Nathan Burke and Ian Cohen with you for Saturday afternoon footy. Daniel out of defence, up towards Cody Waitman, who can't take the mark, and Nick Murray ends up with the footy as the siren sounds to three-quarter time. A pretty promising quarter for the Western Bulldogs, able to extend their lead from the half-time margin. It's a 43-point lead the way of the Dogs. 9-19-73 to the Adelaide Crows. 4-6-30 off the back of 4 goals, 6 to the Western Bulldogs in that third term. And the Adelaide Crows booting just 1 goal to. For the Bulldogs, 2 goals to Anthony Scott, individuals to Lobb, McRae, Norton, Williams, Daniel and Gardner. While for the Adelaide Crows, 2 goals to Josh Rochelle, individuals to Rankin and to Gallant. Bulldogs leading by 43 points at three-quarter time here at Eureka Stadium in Ballarat. Meanwhile, at Docklands, it's still North Melbourne holding a 10-point lead, approaching time on in the final term. There is an ABC call of that game available on the ABC Listen app. Just click on the AFL Extra button. The Roos 12-7-89 to the Roos, 14-5-89 to Sydney 12-7-79. and North Melbourne with 4-1 so far in this final term. Great to have your company on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
This winter, get ready for 8 weeks of cricket like you have never heard before.
One of the most dramatic mornings Test cricket you'll ever see.
The World Test Championship final.
Cullen's on his way. Coley is forward. Driving, caught by Green. Coley out for 4.
The Women's Ashes.
Beaumont's who struck on the pad, and Perry's appealing, and she's got another one. High fives for the Australian.
And a rivalry bigger than the game itself. The Ashes.
Goes and evolves to Smith, who works it away. There it is. 200, and he'll take another for luck as well.
Grandstand Cricket. The Ashes.
Every ball, live and commercial free this winter with ABC Sport.
This is the Sir Doug Nicholls round.
On your radio, Sport Digital, and the ABC Listen app.
O'Brien will go into the pocket in the lob direction. Butt spoil, spills to the back. Scott runs into an open goal. All still live. Dawson trying to pick it up. Eventually Murray does. Handball away towards a teammate in Berry. His kick run onto there by Bailey Dale. Loose ball in the goal square. Daniel Clean off the lob, snaps the goal. Bailey Smith, his kick ricochets inside 50 for the Dogs. Fends off one tackle. Handball back to Liberatore. Loops a handball onto Waitman, who was taken high. And Waitman to get a free kick. He was goalless last week, Cody Waitman, but that's a finish of pure class.
Dawson, the Adelaide Crows captain, tries to get him going. A hand pass to half forward. Baker for the Dogs, picks it up. Hand pass to Bontempelli, shins it to half back. Rankin's onto it for the Crows. Hand pass to Rochelle, swings it onto the right and steers it through.
The 2023 Sir Doug Nicholls round.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
3-quarter time at Eureka Stadium in Ballarat. It's the Western Bulldogs leading by 43 points, 9-19, 73 to the Adelaide Crows, 4-6-30. The Dogs with a 4-1 third term to extend their lead heading into the final quarter. Meanwhile, at Docklands in Melbourne, it's the Kangaroos who hold the advantage. Although a goal to the Sydney Swans just makes it interesting. 8-point lead at the 21-minute mark of the final term. The Roos 14-5-89 to the Swans 12-9-81. The goal coming through through Errol Goulden. And after this match, we take you to the West in Perth, where Walliup is taking on Geelong. The subs with no late changes there. Matthew Johnson for the Dockers and Ollie Dempsey for the Cats. Matt Clinch and Ben Cameron calling the action. Ian Cohen down the boundary. The thoughts of Rod Jefferson and Nathan Burke.
Well, it's been pretty much the same for Adelaide, isn't it? They just cannot hold on or even contest at the moment around the amount of football that the Western Bulldogs are having and how clean they are. We're just having a look at Bailey Smith with 32. We spoke of Zach Butters last night. He ended up with 41. So he's got a quarter in the way things are going. There's every chance that he's going to get to that number. Bailey Dale off the half-back line. Liberatore as well. Rory Laird is the leading Adelaide player with 24, drops down to Jordan Dawson again at 20, and Chase Jones with 18. Just not enough of Adelaide getting hold of the football was spoken about throughout the game as to where Adelaide are breaking down. Mitch Hinge was out there just with the jacket on, so he's up and about walking, subbed out in the first quarter, but Bulldogs too good, Berkey. They're just all over Adelaide at the moment.
Yeah, it's just their willingness to get in and win the hard ball and then have runners and players on the outside to use it, and their back line are extremely stingy. The Crows haven't looked like taking a mark inside forward 50. If Ferguson or O'Brien or Jones aren't jumping over the top, smashing it away, it's virtually been impossible for the Crows players. They haven't even really looked like taking a mark inside 50. Just the structure and the setup, the Western Bulldogs is outstanding, and the pressure that the Crows brought upon the Saints last week, they just haven't been able to replicate that, unfortunately.
Tackles inside forward 50. Western Bulldogs 16, Adelaide 2. So again, an indication of just the pressure the Bullies are applying and the amount of football that actually been up their end. Second and third quarter. So we're waiting here. Benny, it's got dark quickly too, hasn't it?
Really dark. The lights are on, but I'm not sure they're broadcast standard. for a night game. Up we go for the final quarter underway. The Bulldogs leading by 43 points. Emerging with it, the Crows. Brodie Smith, handball back to Millerer. To Jones, the Crows across half-back. And a kick out to Sloan on the wing. Haven't called his name a lot today. Kicks for Pedlar. He's able to juggle it and mark just in the field of play. What are you trying to get out of this final term if you're the Crows? I'll come back to that as Pedlar goes inside 50, nearly Rochelle. Ball spills free, eventually picked up by Bailey Smith. Handball back inside 50, loose ball. Rochelle gathers. Handball away for Murphy, misses him. Scott's there for the Dogs. Has time to steady and kick out towards left half back, where Bailey Williams can mark.
No injuries. No, but on a serious note, just effort. Let's just dig in. I'm not quite sure. They're probably just making it difficult. I'd say, as an indication, just keep the Western Bulldogs and restrict them from dropping it inside their forward 50, let alone, I'm not worried about the score at the moment.
Liberatore kicks the Dogs to the wing, picked up by Norton, kick to half forward, unable to half volley it. Here's Rory Lobb. Miller can. He'll gather and turn and kick back around the wing in the Fogarty direction. He bundles over English and gives away a free kick.
One of the things we've seen for the Western Bulldogs is their small forwards. They push hard into defence. That was Anthony Scott who actually got the ball out, and as soon as the ball went out of their defensive 50, he sprinted up the other end. I don't necessarily see Rankin and Rochelle and these guys. Very rarely do they get over halfway.
Bulldogs leading by 43 points. English, long kick towards half forward and his opposite number. And Riley O'Brien is able to take the mark. Has it at right half back for the Crows.
And that kick is too wide for Rory Sloan. It's been that kind of afternoon for the Adelaide Crows, and the free kick going the way of the Western Bulldogs.
It's down the line once again and not hitting the target.
Big sign on that side of the ground, Jamo saying bar. Might be a few Crows fans looking for that.
Indeed. And some commentators.
As Bailey Williams sends it long towards the lob. Almost juggling mark to Riley O'Brien. He's been paid it.
I think it's just been a really frustrating day if you're an Adelaide supporter, particularly the way they have gone about it in the last few weeks. Western Bulldogs have had some good form coming in today. It's always difficult up here regardless of the opposition, but just to play in the manner is so good against the Saints last week, and then an opportunity to really show their wares and unable to do so.
From the throw in, English is able to squeeze a kick forward towards Bailey Smith, and Millerer takes it out of play. A goal for the Sydney Swans is a 3-point ball game. North Melbourne 14-6-90 to the Swans 13-9-87. Just under 3 minutes ago in that clash at Docklands. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, Mount Buninyong is slowly disappearing in the background there as the rain comes back through Eureka Stadium as well. It holds 11,000 people. They've been a pretty hardy crowd, but the Crows haven't had much to cheer for.
Back out of play, and another throw-in is what we'll get about 70 metres around from the attacking goal at the city end of the ground for the Western Bulldogs.
What's the anniversary date, Ian?
August, Rod, and I'll be expecting flowers and a card and maybe some nice chocolates.
What did you expect, Cozy? You think it was going to be warm on the 21st of August?
The 21st of October, actually. Gee, how am I going?
Oh, no.
I think it might be all over, 21 October.
Loose footy on the wing. We're entertaining ourselves here as Bailey Smith picks it up. Handball away to Liberatore. Now Jure going in. Liberatore hurt himself diving after the football. Socket on there by the Crows, and they might be out. Rochelle onto the footy. Handball to Fogarty. Steps one way. Waits for support. Handball back to Sloan. At right half forward. Handball away to Fogarty. Fogarty loses it. Sloan. Oh, he's almost legged. He is legged. And he'll get a free kick. 53 metres out is the mark.
McRae and Libba sending scares through the Bulldogs bench. Libba went down first, looked very innocuous, which is always a worry. He's in the hands of the trainer now, but he's okay. And then McRae went down.
Sloan's long kick towards Gallant. Can't take the mark. Bailey Dale there. He's tackled by Murphy. Somehow broke out of the tackle. Hand pass to Liberatore for the Bulldogs. High kick towards halfback. Norton underneath it. Butts almost juggled the mark. Now he's on his backside trying to knock it clear. Norton over the top. The umpire will ball it up. Nick Blakey with a kick inside 50 for the Swans. Core took the intercepting mark. Sydney back inside 50 once more, trailing by 3 points against the Kangaroos. Just over a minute to go in that thrilling finish at Docklands.
All aloft. English wins the tap, but Sloan onto the footy, gathers it again on the bounce, and he's wrapped up pretty quickly. Mentioned we haven't seen an awful lot of Rory Sloan today, just 11 disposals, and a few of those in this final term. Spiked on by English, eventually onto it, Miller on the wing. Sidesteps his Bulldogs opponent, kicks the Crows inside 50. Getting back, Richards coming in from the side. A shock of red hair. He takes the good defensive mark in the left back pocket. Falls over his teammate for good measure as well.
Gardner slow to get up, and Richards was also take some time in the last contest.
Yeah, there's been a controversial free kick at Docklands, and Sydney about to kick the go-ahead goal through McLean. It seems like it was some sort of verbal abuse towards the umpire.
Oh, no.
Rory Lobb has it. Out right half forward for the Bulldogs. Murray lays the tackle. And McLean will put the Sydney Swans in front. 14-9-93 to North Melbourne. 14-6-90. And all of a sudden the thought of Brett Ratton getting a win as caretaker coach might have evaporated and Sydney might have pulled it out of the fire. As the clearing kick for the Crows through Chase Jones is intercepted. And O'Brien takes the mark for the Bulldogs on the wing.
It's an elite competition, seriously.
I'm just going on the little iPhone I've got set up, and that's the vision I could see. There was no obvious free kick. And
Harry Mackay is the culprit.
He's got the ISO cam at the moment.
It's never a good sign, is it? Bulldogs have it at half forward. Haven't had a goal so far in this final term. Spills to the back of the pack, and Miller with a hand pass to Laird. His kick ricochets into Bontempelli across the boundary line. 50 metres out from the Bulldogs' goal. They lead by 43 points. 9-9-8-73 to the Crows. 4-6-30. 7 minutes gone, final term.
So the umpire to spin it in at left half forward. O'Brien misses it off the bonts there of Tim English. Loose footy picked up in the end by Waitman. Handball back towards the wing. Bailey Williams onto it. Hooks a kick back into the pocket. It'll miss everyone. Pitch and bounce out. And a throw in 40 around from the attacking goal here for the Dogs. Ray from the Riverland says your call of the game at Ballarat, very entertaining.
1-2 in the first quarter, 1-6 in the second, 1-2 in the third to the City end. It's just been a difficult end to score goals.
O'Brien wins the tap down towards Sloan there for the Crows. Back feeds a handball to Pedler off a step. Long kick towards the wing. And the mark taken by Fogarty. Bulldogs leading by 43, 8 minutes into the final term.
3-on-1, poor kick. Defence, Western Bulldogs getting back.
Fogarty's kick picked off by DeRay. Full time at Docklands. Sydney win by 3 points. 14-9-93 to North Melbourne. 14-6-90. We'll try and bring you full details as to what happened with that last goal of the match, which Hayden McLean put Sydney in front and effectively delivered them victory. Murray's kick is partially smothered. Laird gathers at half forward. Hand pass to Pedler. On the run. Long kick towards Rochelle. He can't take the mark. Sported away from DeRay. Spins out of traffic. Across the face of goal to Murphy. He tried to kick it over his shoulder with a Jackie Chan style and missed to the right-hand side. That would have been the goal of the year.
It's like Inter Milan.
Just to think to do the bicycle kick. I'm not sure how that's running through your head, Jamo.
I don't know what he was thinking. Would have been a spectacular goal had he kicked it.
Yeah. Short kick into Bontempelli. Eventually the Dogs work it to right half back. Here's Daniel kicking around the wing, looking for Michael Lanny. He can't take the mark. Jamari Ugle-Hagan onto it. Feeds a handball forward. Mark taken by, or handball received by Scott. Kicks into the pocket. Bouncing ball. Too far out in front of Waitman, who spikes it away in frustration. And a throw in right forward pocket here for the Dogs. They lead by 42 points.
I was almost set to claim my junior status, and to prove it, I will show you my app that I do the tips with, and I did tip North Melbourne.
You did?
Oh, you were very quiet, Berkey, too.
I was waiting for him to win before I went to crow.
Dogs deep in attack. English can't get a clearance. It spills to Laird. Hand pass to Saligo. Kicks up towards Himmelberg. Up against O'Donnell, who spoils it out of play. Much of the encouragement of his fellow defenders. All of a sudden, he's slotted in relatively well, James O'Donnell.
He has indeed. Geelong or Fremantle, Berkey?
I picked Freo in that one.
You were pretty quiet on that as well.
Just out of interest, where are you sitting in your tips?
Second last.
Yeah, okay. Kiss of death. Bulldogs by 42 points here at Eureka Stadium in Ballarat.
I'm officially at the point where I've got to tip the underdog in every one in order. I'm either going to catch up or I'm going to get further behind.
The kiss of death for a game that you're working on as well. Tonight will be a shocker, no doubt now, as the tumbling kick goes out of play, a throw in left half forward. You're averaging a margin of about 10 goals, aren't you, Berkey?
This is the closest game I've seen in 4 weeks.
And it's 42 points.
Yep, absolutely.
11 minutes into the fourth. Bulldogs lead it.
Well, to be fair, if you're doing 6 games a round...
Still waiting for the first goal of this final term from the throw in at left half forward for the Crows. Ball comes to ground and they're on top of it.
So just having a look at Twitter, it wasn't a verbal abuse, it was an interchange limit exceeded, which resulted in Hayden McLean kicking the winning goal for Sydney.
Scholl comes away with the footy for the Crows, kicks to full forward, and a strong defensive mark from Liam Jones. He marks at fullback and will kick laterally to the left back pocket in Bailey Dale.
So 75 is the limit, Jamo. One too many. 76 for North Melbourne. And a free kick the Sydney Swans way, in which Hayden McLean then got a 50-metre penalty.
You should not be getting that wrong.
And a 50 as well.
Yep. You know what? I'll say that, but I can forgive them this week.
Why?
They got a caretaker coach. Imagine all the disruption. Everyone changes positions. Not in the team, but in the coach's box, just disruptive.
You've got 4 or 5 people on the ground talking about all of this. That's something like that shouldn't happen.
Lockie McNeil, the sub, hand pass inside 50. Adelaide repel through Keys, hand pass to Millerer. Scholl ran into a dead end. He's locked up by McNeil. Bulldogs take it back. Artie Jones into Keys. No tackle laid. It's socket inside 50 for the Dogs. Butts is there. Norton just shoves him out of the way. Gathers. Veers onto his right. Now steadies. Kick smothered by Murray. Spills the way of the Dogs. Bontempelli. He's dumped by Jones. He didn't have the footy. And the Bont is going to end up with the free kick. It certainly hasn't been pretty in this final term. There's a chance for the Western Bulldogs to finally put something on the scoreboard. We're just the one behind Adelaide's way so far through the opening 13 minutes of unforgettable footy.
So Archie Jones, that's not holding the ball, really? Like with Ben Keys on that tackle,
I don't think the umpire thought he initiated the tackle for long enough. The footy just spilled out.
Incorrect disposal?
Possibly. Here's Marcus Bontempelli in the left forward pocket, 25 metres out from goal, coming in for the final dagger for the Bulldogs, and the Bont is celebrating. The Bulldogs with the first goal of the final term, which comes at the 13-minute mark, and Marcus Bontempelli joins the growing list of goal kickers. 10-19-79 to the Adelaide Crows, 4-7-31.
I'd like to think I'm a reasonable team member, and albeit you are the hardest working ABC employee too, Berkey, but I'm going to hand over the ABC votes for the game as well. You can pick that up.
I think I did throw them to you last weekend, so it's only fair you return serve.
And you've got the AFL people on the boundary line too, Benny, as well, like sitting there counting the interchange.
Yeah, if you lose count, you can easily turn around and go, hey, how many we had?
Yeah.
Champ?
Champ. Yeah, champ. No wonder they probably gave him the wrong number. Berkey Champ.
I tend to champ all AFL stuff.
From the restart, English wins the tap, cops a finger in the eye as well, I reckon. It'll be a free kick. It'll go the way of Chase Jones. In the middle of the ground, English is not well here. Chase Jones goes short to Keys, just marks above the playing surface. Keys will kick laterally and mark taken by Parnell. 55 out, tries to chip a ball to the pocket for Rochelle. And it's just perfect for Tim O'Brien to take the defensive mark in the left back pocket. Lead by 48, the Bulldogs. It got out to as much as 50.
Champ.
Tim O'Brien long towards the wing, bouncing ball. Artie Jones arrives, knocks it down, picked up in the end by Baker. He'll get it on the boot, high ball for the Dogs.
Up towards a flying effort from Murray, who then gathers the footy. Hand pass into the middle of the ground for Parnell to O'Brien, back to Laird, worked it forward. Parnell's kick inside 50, Rochelle. Marks directly in front, 45 metres out from goal.
Probably their best movement all day, wasn't it? From one end to the other. Nick Murray has been dour in the back half too. Jordan Butts on Norton restricted him to the 1 goal. And then just quick handballs through the middle of the ground. And it's probably the first time and not too many occasions that Rochelli's actually had the space to settle down and have a set shot on goal.
Josh Rochelli with a couple of goals next to his name. He's tried his hardest in a 4-goal effort. It gets close to the man on the mark. It trades left and through for a minor score. The Bulldogs lead is 47 points at the 16-minute mark of the final term. Nick Koza to keep an eye on Tim English just in that poke in the eye from Riley O'Brien in the ruck.
So he's being attended to now by the doctors. He looks to be okay, though. He's just got the towel around the shoulders. So Rory Lobb, who'd only been off for about 30 seconds, back on.
Dogs turn it over at left half back. They go in, though, and win it back through a good O'Brien tackle on Rory Laird. He'll have it at left half back. Kick towards fullback. It just finds Gardner. The Dogs next week, up to the glitter strip. They take on... Oh, sorry, not up to the glitter strip. They take on the Gold Coast Suns up in the top end. Big fly coming here from Sloan. Takes out his opponent in Duray. Over the back it goes in the end and out of play and a throw-in.
The Dogs have almost had... They're up to 90 more possessions. And in a sort of a wet, sort of dour sort of a day, there's no reason the other team should have 90 more clear possessions than you.
They lead by 47 points.
Bailey Smith.
34.
He was flying in the first quarter. Riley O'Brien out of the ruck, kicks inside 50 in the direction of Galan. It's spoiled away from him. Charging in down low. Richards' tackle was over the shoulder. Jordan Dawson, the Adelaide Crows captain, was taken high. He'll get the shot on goal directly in front. Slightly to the right of where Josh Rochelli just had a shot to try and strike through for the Crows' 5th goal of the match.
Distance shouldn't be a problem. 3-goal 5 though, year to date. So beautiful left foot around the ground. Low penetrating kick.
It's been one of those days for the Adelaide Crows. As the captain starts his approach inside the centre square. Crosses through 50. Beautiful off the boot. And Adelaide just haven't seen enough of that today. The margin slides back to 41 points. The Crows' biggest losing margin was 32 points to the Tigers earlier in the season. The Western Bulldogs 10-19, 79 to the Crows 5-8, 38. 18 minutes gone. Final term on ABC Sport.
Gemma, you got to wonder how much Tex Walker not being there just affects the setup and the confidence. And we know he's a man who you can often see him talking, saying, you push up and you come back. And they just seem to be a little bit disjointed in that forward line, albeit the delivery into them has been pretty poor the whole day. Hardly any free kicks inside 50. But just having the confidence of Tex there and just being able to set him up, and how much they've missed that.
It's a knock-on effect, isn't it, too? Because then you get Darcy Fogarty, normally gets the second best defender and so on, and Taylor normally takes that, so it makes it a bit hard.
Here are the Crows. Parnell off half-back. His kick towards half-forward. Looking for a marker over the head there of Fogarty. Bouncing ball out the back. Bailey Dale paddles intentionally. Disguises it well enough to get a throw-in. Out by 41 points.
I don't think we've actually seen Adelaide hit a lace-up, like a leading forward today at all, have we? Like, just had the ability to run at the football. Adelaide could drop like a 30 or 40 metre kick out in front.
Clearing kick from Liberatore out towards the wing, swooping onto the footy, roving beautifully is Artie Jones. Back to Bailey Smith with the handball. Had a lot of it today. Kicks towards half forward. Through the hands there of Ugelhagen. Picked up by Max Michaelani.
Sends it around the wing, spots up Sloan, who can work it further afield by foot to Laird. He marks attacking half of the outer side of the ground, the eastern side of Eureka Stadium in Ballarat. Comes inboard to Keys. Feeds the hand pass around the back to Brodie Smith with that raking right boot. Inside 50, O'Brien at the back, almost got down the mark. Gardner in front, spills down the way of O'Donnell. He's dumped in a tackle by Himmelberg. And the umpire will ball it up 40 metres out from the Adelaide Crows goal. The Bulldogs 10-19-79 to Adelaide 5-8-38. Western Bulldogs take on the Gold Coast Suns next week. As Benny may mention, for the Crows, it's the Brisbane Lions at the Adelaide Oval on Sunday. The challenges come quick and fast for the Crows. Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Yeah, Tim English about to come back on, so it looks like he's cleared of that eye drama.
O'Brien one down the tap for the Crows, but it's Liberatore with a clearing kick for the Dogs. Bounced up for Ugle-Hagan. Hand pass away to Bontempelli. Not much further afield, but Wayne Millerer. So chips it out in the direction of Oscar Baker. He gathers on the eastern wing, turns and tries to work it back to the Bontempelli. Millerer came and spoiled it out of his hands. He runs straight into Dale. Tries to tap it to the advantage of Brodie Smith. Not a lot of options further afield. So doubles back with a hand pass to Scholl. And right half back for the Adelaide Crows. Sends a high kick around the wing. Himmelberg will set himself up against O'Donnell. Berry becomes the tackler as he locks the footy up on the chest of Taylor Duray. And the umpire will ball it up between wing and half forward for the Adelaide Crows. Bulldogs by 41 points.
Great effort, Wayne Miller, wasn't it, too? The Bulldogs were away. They held possession. They were going forward and just took a punt and speed got to the contest.
Loose footy, Waitman beelines it. Has to go again because he can't quite gather. Eventually it spits out to Caleb Daniel. Handball away towards Baker. Baker will kick around the southern wing. Over the head of Scott. He'll track it at ground level. Avoid a tackle. Handball away to Artie Jones. Is this his moment? He'll snap around the corner and turn it over. Millerer can take the mark for the Crows. Gives it off to the run of Max Michaelani. He'll kick towards the wing. And Waitman caught behind. Punches it out in front of the hardy souls that have hung around all day out there on the southern wing.
Poncho sales have gone through the roof.
Bulldogs by 41 points late in this match.
The other player too, Riley Thilthorpe, is the other one. I don't think he's the margin. He's not going to make that difference, but just allows Riley O'Brien a bit of a chop out in the ruck. Elliot Himmelberg's done a little bit today, but predominantly Riley.
From the throw in, Laird with a high kick towards half forward. Gardner spills it away. Fogarty with a tackle on O'Donnell. Ball trickles away. And the tackle laid by Sloan. Daniel can't get rid of it. He's going to be penalised. Right forward pocket for the Adelaide Crows and Rory Sloan. It'll be hard up against the boundary with a shot in the final term, looking to try and kick Adelaide's second goal of this final term. He'll take absolute best from the former Crows captain. Waste no time. Fires it across the face of goal. Big fly from Gallant off hands. Through for a minor score. Bulldogs lead is 40 points at the 22-minute mark of the final term.
Short kick into the pocket. Dale Marks gives it off by hand to Bailey Smith. He'll kick towards the wing. Going up, unable to take the mark. McNeil, handball to Liberatore. Now the runner Baker uses those wheels. Kicks out towards Ugle-Hagan. Too wide, he was dealt with too. So there'll be a free kick. It'll come downfield. And Ugle-Hagan will get it.
It's silly in the end. Dispose of the football. I think it was Rory Sloan just got in the back, pushed him, and
so the mark set right on the 50. Ugle-Hagan doesn't like his chances. Kicks to a contest. Off hands it spills down. Liberatore, the first responder. Handball away towards McNeil. To McRae on the left boot. Through for his second. A little cherry on top for the Western Bulldogs. 11-19-85 to 5-9-39. A 46-point advantage, 24 minutes into this final term.
The Bulldogs are just so good at sharing the ball by hand, and they've always got a next player in line, and that time it was Jack McRae, who's had a pretty good day. He's got himself 23, hasn't quite got his normal 30 here, but he's up to 23. Hey, before we bounce this one, I'm going to throw a conspiracy theory at you.
Ooh. Okay, here we go.
With Hawks and West Coast playing tomorrow, it's possibly one of them are going to win. Is it advantageous?
Not necessarily.
Is it advantageous for North to lose? And if the players weren't going to do it, maybe someone on the bench did?
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Controversial. Pedler gets
I'll
the
leave
clearance.
that with you. You can think about that.
Sends it out towards Rankin. He bounces off to Ray and then sidesteps around Jones into the left forward pocket. Hand pass to Berry. Snaps on his right. It's right to the teeth of goal. Flying was Keys. Can't take the mark. Bounce eluded Pedler. And Dale wins it for the Dogs. Hand pass to McRae. They repel from halfback. A high kick up towards Whiteman, who takes the mark centre wing. Just as it looked like something was going to open up for Josh Rochelle in the left forward pocket. Adelaide just couldn't find a target inside 50, and Wakeman now towards half forward. Lob in a pack of Crows players. Murray fends off English. Umpire says it was high, he's fend off.
How can you fend off Tim English? He's 8 foot tall. Let's put your hand straight in the air.
Talking about interchange today, and it's probably because of the rotation restriction, Adelaide have only had the 42 of their 75 in interchange.
English long to fall forward. Himmelberg tries to spoil it down. Wakeman ran into a dead end as Rory Laird's right over the back of him, laying the tackle. And a ball up 30 metres out from the Western Bulldogs goal. Dogs by 46 points. 25 minutes gone, final term.
Which is ridiculously low. The Western Bulldogs have had 70 of their 75.
From the ball up, not coming out. I would hope not, Berkey. I would hope not, given what we've seen with Melbourne in years gone by.
It's very good forward thinking if they have.
O'Brien hooking it down. Loose footy, going after it. Sloan, eventually Pedler handballs after looking like he was going to kick. Scholl onto it at left half back. Gives it back to Miller. His kick smothered. And the Dogs just haven't stopped coming all afternoon.
If they had like players running on the ground and running off and then running on and trying to chalk them up, maybe.
Dogs by 46 points here on Grandstand AFL.
What's the inside 50s this quarter, please?
O'Brien hooks it down. Sloan will kick the Crows towards half forward. Bouncing ball. Out the back it goes. Golan will run onto it. Has no one between him and the goals. Steadies, drills it, misses. And if anything was symbolic of the Crows' day, that was it. 45 points the Dogs' advantage.
And Liam Jones again just didn't give up. Put enough pressure on Gallant there to just make him hurry the kick right at the last second. He's recruit of the year. Hard to find a better one.
What would you think the inside 50s are, Jamo?
It's going to be Adelaide's way.
Yep. You're right on the first account. 14 to 8, in which they kick 1 forward to the Bulldogs, 2 straight.
Yeah, so...
English at half-back for the Western Bulldogs, sends it boundary side where the mark is taken by Bailey Dale.
Well, the request was just to see Adelaide's effort and finish off and restrict the Western Bulldogs inside 50, which they've been able to do, was my request, but they haven't been able to restrict, obviously, their goals.
Inboard to Caleb Daniel, who plays on. Sends it around the wing up to Jamari Ugelhagen. He takes the mark on the eastern side of the ground in front of the hill where plenty of the fans are still standing and watching on. Their scarves and big jackets, the beanies all required today. He works it to McNeil and then wider still to McRae. He's had a bit of the footy, Jack McRae, in the final term. Up to possession number 25. Bailey Smith leads the way with 37 and Rory Laird with 34. Kicks towards Ugelhagen, got a big piece of it, wasn't paid the mark. Gallant with the hand pass to the Crows to Laird. Around the boundary side to Jones. He drives it up towards half forward. Jordan Dawson floating back with the flight, can't take the mark. Spilled down by Gardner. Dale with a 1-2 with Liam Jones. He doesn't have anything to switch to, so turns back to his left-hand side and short to DeRay, who marks in the left back pocket for the Western Bulldogs.
Just forward thinking, are the showers here anything like they would have been at Waverley, Berkey? That's what you need here at Ballarat, the change room.
No, the rooms aren't. I know that the home rooms we've played here in AFLW land, but quite good.
For the Western Bulldogs, it's a win worth its weight in gold in Ballarat. A percentage boost, a 45-point drubbing of the Adelaide Crows.
Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs roar. We give our very best. But you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed. We're the team of the
Bulldogs move up to 5th on the live ladder and improve their percentage with this big win. They led by 23 points at quarter time, 21 at half time, 43 at three-quarter time, and in the end they were able to run out winners by 45 points. A couple of goals to Jack McRae, a couple to Anthony Scott, singles to Waitman, Bontempelli, Lobb, Norton, Williams, Daniel and Gardner.
Sons of the West, red, white and blue, we come out snarling, Bulldogs through and through. Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs roar, we give our very best. 'Cause you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed, we're the team of the mighty West. 'Cause you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed, the team of the mighty
The Western Bulldogs move to 7 wins and 3 losses after losing their opening 2 matches of the season. It's now 5 wins on the trot to stay in touch with the AFL's top 4. Winners by 45 points over the Adelaide Crows, delivering Matthew Nix's Chargers their biggest loss of season 2023. While for the Adelaide Crows, they were inside the top 8 at the start of the weekend. It's most likely they will slide out. The Bulldogs winners by 45 points. The thoughts of Rod Jamieson and Nathan Burke.
Oh, it was just a tough day, wasn't it, too? Well done, Western Bulldogs. They're a good quality side. Their form continues, 5 in a row. And their back line, if it wasn't their midfield, and then when they've just got the options up forward, but they just really restricted. And that's, I guess, what the quality of a good side does. You've got to be progressive and do what you need to do to win games, but when you don't have the football, it's how you win the football back. And the pressure that they applied, they did the way in their clearance work, their tackling, and they just use the football so much better. And they do make it difficult for opposition up here too. So multiple players, 9 of them kicked goals, many more kicked behinds, but Adelaide, they just didn't have the goal kickers or the targets to go to. So when they did go inside 50, they just bombed away, went down the line. They did the same things that most opposition want you to do, which is actually be really predictable, and they were unable to hit the scoreboard. They had some injuries early. The rotations clearly impacted by the interchange too, and really dirty, tough day for the Adelaide Football Club.
Apart from the first 3 minutes, the game was played the way the Western Bulldogs want the game to be played. It was bring the ball to ground, win that contested footy, spread and get the ball forward really, really quickly. And that's what they did. If they weren't so inaccurate, this could have been a really huge win. The scoreboard probably flattered the Crows, to be totally honest. What we saw from the Crows last week was that manic pressure and their pace to close down the opposition play with the ball just wasn't there today. And the Bulldogs players had far too much time and effort. And when they were under the pump, there was always somebody spare to give the ball to. Then that person got the ball and away they went to get the ball inside 50. So completely played the way the Western Bulldogs want to play the game. And the worry for Matty Nix is, how do you go from last week's game style to this week's game style? And they were chalk and cheese, to be totally honest.
So 2 goals to McRae, 2 to Scott, individuals to Waitman, Bontempelli, Lobb, Norton, Williams, Daniel and Gardner, while for the Adelaide Crows, 2 to Rochelle, individuals to Dawson, Rankin and Gallant. The Adelaide Crows have the Brisbane Lions at the Adelaide Oval next Sunday, while the Western Bulldogs take on the Gold Coast Suns. The votes for the ABC Footballer of the Year, Nathan Burke.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1 vote to Liam Jones. Didn't have a lot of the footy, but he just caused havoc. Every time the Crows went forward, he was in the way. He brought the ball to ground, and that enabled the small Western Bulldogs defenders to then clean it up, and away you go. So 1 to Liam Jones, and I'm going to do a bit of a gill here. 2 votes. Western Bulldogs of Bailey Smith. 37 disposals, 9 score involvements. Only went 54% by foot, but a really good 4-quarter effort. And 3 votes, Western Bulldogs, Bailey Dale. 36 disposals, 9 score involvements from the half back line, and had 26 kicks and went at 89% with those 26 kicks. So I thought the way that he mopped it up and sent the ball forward time and time again, he defended as well as attacked, as well as a half-back flanker can.
3 to Bailey Dale, 2 to Bailey Smith, and 1 to Liam Jones from Nathan Burke in the ABC Footballer of the Year. The Western Bulldogs winners by 45 points, 11-19-85 to the Crows 5-10-40. Now, it was a controversial end at Docklands in which the Sydney Swans ended up prevailing by 3 points over